half a dozen interventions. One is the major aspect of it is in terms of how do we manage the natural resources that they have, the limited resources that they have, then that has to be optimized. Number one. Second part of it is in terms of looking at the financial viability. How do we improve their financial income generation? Third aspect of it is in terms of education. Fourth is in terms of looking at their health and other aspects of. So through these combinations, we have been able to work with almost about 500 villages across the states, both Andhra and Telangana, in these initiatives. Primarily, I would say natural resource management has been the core and the major focus area for Ekalavya Foundation.
Excellent. Great to hear that from you, sir. So going back to Mihir what is that you look, because nowadays CSS has caught up greatly, all the corporations, individuals are talking about it. What do you see is the way that individuals like me or from corporations can come join hands with you, the Ekalavya Foundation, and contribute towards this great impactful journey?
From the CSR side,
CSS side. So as an individual, if I want to contribute, or if as a corporation I want to contribute, what is that the way I can join hands with you with Ekalavya?
we generally follow a very simple approach, So suppose we take up a remote area and find out their basic needs and what are the possibilities. And we take up a kind of project, and we make a kind of concept note kind of things. What are the things feasible? What are the components available? How well it can be developed and improved? And we make a kind of picture about it, and we present it before the CSR initiatives. A lot of companies are interested for, especially in the proximity of those companies, because they generally want to work in the 50 to 100 kilometers within the range and all, and we offer them in various areas. And also in that, suppose they select one or two areas and all, they can come forward and contribute, their sponsorship and all. And then we develop the detailed project report, wherein all the components are taken into account, and it has been highlighted. With the approval of that, once it gets through, then we get along with the companies or the donors who offer us the CSR opportunity.
That's very nicely put up, sir. So I see it as two ways. One, either I can come as a volunteer and contribute, join the journey, what you've been doing, or as a corporation, I can come and give some sponsorship to it. If I don't have a bandwidth to do so, to work with you, I can as well contribute towards some project. This is what I understand. Yeah.
Just to add to Meher's thing, certainly financial aspect plays an important role. That comes from the CSR. The mind share is an important concept. That comes from the individual. So we need a lot of individual who, especially people who have specialized in these domains. So we want them to join those initiatives and help us merge, converge the finance into making the effective use of the financial sponsorship that we have got.
Okay. How do you see Ekalavya Foundation in next 5 years from now on? What is that you see Ekalavya Foundation working on, creating an impact on, and what is your target, approximate some tentative numbers that you have in mind?
Unfortunately, Uday, we don't have that 5 years later vision. But however, one of the areas that I want to definitely make an impact is, if you look at this, the district that primarily we work in, Adilabad, Asifabad, and I'm sure being from an IT background, you would know that the digital awareness, not the UPI payment, in terms of the programming concepts and the skills that come from these two districts is minimal. So that's the area that we wanted to penetrate into and increase the digital awareness in these districts, and we should be able to tap big number of resources from these two districts in the next 5 years. So we should be getting like top companies like Google and all should be going to Adilabad and Asifabad for recruitment.
Excellent. So I think, guys, we have heard about what Ekalavya Foundation has been working on and what ways we can join Ekalavya Foundation for all the novel and noble works that they're taking up. So it's time, I think, let's connect with them and also try contributing to this through tribal workforce or any other individuals who are stationed in the two states of Telangana, also two Telugu states. Thank you so much for joining in.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
STPI has a not-for-profit sister organization called STPI Next, and STPI Next is responsible for innovation, for creating innovation hubs all over country. So there are about 14-15 such similar centers of entrepreneurships in Hyderabad, in Chennai, in Pune, in Bhubaneswar, in Delhi, and a lot of other places. There are actually 8 separate COEs in the Northeast itself. Each center of entrepreneurship has a specific focus area on industries that it wants to grow. So for example, ours is one that grows AVGC, AI, and computer vision. There is one in Vizag that is promoting Industry 4.0. The ones in Pune is promoting mobility. The ones in Chennai are promoting fintech. So each COE has multiple use cases, different industries, different focus areas where these are happening. To our understanding, Image is the only COE within the STPI Next circle of COEs where computer vision is being encouraged. There are a couple of things to note about this. One is one of the reasons why it was decided that Image COE will support computer vision companies is because we have a very close academic tie-up with the International Institute of Information Technology, IIIT Hyderabad. And IIIT Hyderabad is actually one academic institute that is considered to be the best in computer vision research anywhere in India. Now, because of their support, we were actually able to get in a few computer vision companies, and IIIT Hyderabad has been very kind enough to provide consistent mentorship, including technical and R&D mentorship to many of our startups. They have held a very important role in recognizing computer vision as an emerging technology and helping us to promote that. The second thing in mind that we should keep is that computer vision is not, it's a very highly technical subject. It requires a lot of technical resources in terms of implementation. It requires a lot of technical expertise in terms of usage. Therefore, our inflow of computer vision startups generally is not very high. We generally get around 3 to 4 startups every cohort. So far we have helped approximately around 10 startups in the computer vision domain also. AI stands for obviously artificial intelligence. It is the most upcoming sector in emerging technology, not just in Hyderabad and Telangana, but essentially in entire India. What AI does is makes models that bring in a degree of efficiency and intelligence into machine. So instead of the age-old, the 90s and the 2000s were the age of automation, where the same process can be taught to a computer to do it repeatedly again and again and again. However, AI can bring in a level of efficiency where a computer can, to a certain degree, whether it's a computer or whether it is a mobile device, to a certain degree, it can learn by seeing the patterns of what previous work it is doing and enhances optimization. So we have a couple of companies that are doing a great work in artificial intelligence. We have companies that are working for AI safety. We have companies that are using AI in very innovative ways in electric mobility, in sports tech, etc. So we are very bullish about the potential of AI. If you would remember, just a couple of months ago, our government in Lok Sabha has passed the data protection bill, and we foresee that AI is going to play a very significant part in ensuring that that our industries can innovate as quickly as possible to ensure that general social good is happening. So we see AI as a very critical part of that. Computer vision is a sort of a it's a side track to artificial intelligence, where artificial intelligence is used through vision. So essentially through your cameras, through phones, through the cameras in your phone's devices to detect objects and then use those objects in an intelligent way using artificial intelligence. That is what computer vision does. So we actually have companies that are doing some very, very cool stuff in computer vision also. We have companies that are helping people train to play sports like cricket and badminton better using computer vision. We have companies that are developing products that can take a kind of a mini MRI of your brain just by using a handheld device. So those are the kind of use cases that computer vision has.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
At the Image SUI demo day.
At Yara, we are building AI tools. It's more like Alexa, but for a business and with a real face. So we are building an engaging user platform where you can create a team or collaboration between your team member. Becomes very easy through the AI capabilities. So we have a speech to text board where you can, your wish is my command. It's kind of Aladdin ka chirag, when you say something and it executes it. So it's amazing. And, with Yara, we have the vision that, there will be virtual employees in future, right? So we are in our roadmap, right now we have virtual project manager. In future, we will have the virtual teacher, which will take care of teaching job in the tribal areas where, a lot of teachers don't want to go. Similarly, we will have the virtual salesman where if there is a physical store and you shut it down on 8 p.m. you will have a virtual salesman doing your job even after your shop is closed.
How easy or uphill task is being an entrepreneur, and especially an early stage entrepreneur?
So being an entrepreneur and early stage startup, I would say, I think, the financial part is the biggest challenge for most of the startup, which is where Image COE is doing hand holding. So I must congratulate them for doing this upheaval task. And secondly, I think, if I have to advise, the government and, the agencies who is working in this segment, they should have some sort of marketplace where all the startup can list out their products so that, people like Amazon, they have a very good scale of economy advantage, or they have the deep pockets, but the startups, they don't have that much money to market and sell their product. So maybe some sort of platform where people can put up their offering and at a discounted rate. That would be great to have.
Thank you. And just one quick question: what makes a perfect pitch?
I think it's you need to have a closely knitted story back with the financial data. So at the end of the day, investors are there to make money. So if you can help them visualize that they can make money by investing in your startup, I think that would help them.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
How was the demo day pitch today?
Yeah, it was wonderful. Especially, I like the point that there are multiple VCs who had come to understand our startup, and it was definitely encouraging. They were trying to understand the challenges that we have, and it was encouraging. Well, fingers crossed till we get the report from them.
Right. How has been the entire cohort of STPI, the COE?
I have liked it personally. One of the fundamental things that I've liked it like this, probably this is the way it is going on after COVID, but again I liked it because there was a chance that we staying remotely from Bangalore could attend all the sessions as if we are there in person in Hyderabad. That was the best part of it. And the second important point is it was not just the AI companies. I own an AI company. It is also the gaming companies where innovation is there. So I liked it. Generally, when you talk about innovation, it is only one type of companies, right? Either AI company cohort or maybe IoT company cohort. But here I see both the gaming and AI companies. And the people, the team over here was also very supportive. They were proactive in letting us know that different types of conferences. They were also trying to proactively, they were trying to collaborate with the international cohorts. Like recently, a Russian cohort, they wanted us to be part of it. And I think that is very encouraging for startups.
Any suggestions to other founders in terms of pitching or in terms of incubation centers?
Other founders, I think they have to also apply for image COE if they are in the AI front or the gaming front. And about VC funding, I don't think I'm in the right position to suggest them till I get VC funding from companies. So
Fingers crossed.
fingers crossed, yes.
Thank you for talking to My Startup TV.
Thank you. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
How did your demo get today?
I think our demo day was good. So we had direct interactions with the investors. So what we are building is basically we are building an esports platform, and that helps other players to find other teams, players, tournaments, and also for the tournament organizers to organize tournaments in an automated system.
How did the pitch go and what makes for a perfect pitch?
I think in terms of perfect pitch, it needs to be authenticity. That is what I mostly feel, because you can't just craft a story artificially. So it's more about also your journey, how you have thought this through, why you wanted to do this. And if you can tell the story in a very authentic way, in which that also connects with a lot of, that will help and, has a mass audience problem. So I think that will automatically get your investors, attention.
Stay with me. Dhaval, please come forward. I would also, Dhaval, in terms of incubation centers, which city or which incubation center, what kind of incubation centers do startup founders really look forward to?
I think Hyderabad. I think Hyderabad has a very good start. I mean, as STPI, MSCOE, then we have T Hub in Hyderabad. I think second would be the Bangalore, where they have a very good tech startup scene, and obviously there are a lot of active investors. So, after Hyderabad, I would say Bangalore. And probably then, we will have upcoming, smaller cities like Ahmedabad. They also have a good startup scene over there, and there are a lot of financial MNCs coming up. So, it's a very good place to be in as well.
Thank you so much for talking to My Startup TV. What's your take on this particular question in terms of which cities make the best startup and what kind of ecosystem are you looking at for startups?
So I think you can't say as best. You can say Bangalore has the head start, because you can say the Silicon Valley of India. So, but I think Delhi has good opportunities, Mumbai has good opportunities. Now Pune, Hyderabad, a lot of cities are coming up. And a lot of government initiatives have been also there. And the incubation centers was, something that was not looked, before. So now there are a lot of incubations that are coming up that are actually good and help startups to solve the early stage problems which usually startups face and that kill those startups. So incubation centers have a big responsibility also in that front to get the right tools for entrepreneurs to get a success.
And a quick word on the uphill battle that's entrepreneurship and foundership kind of thing.
Yeah, so it'll be always up and down. So it's not always the same. You always have they say you always have a plan till you get punched on your face. So that's the same quote I'm going to use here, because the startup also ecosystem is like that. You have a plan, I'm going to go out in the market and we're going to launch and we're going to do this and crazy people will come. But once you launch, before even launch, once you start developing, you're going to face a lot of problems. Some things don't work, some policies have changed. For every startup, it's very different. But it's not always a straight road. Most of the times you'll have to, curve through a mountain or dig a tunnel, different ways to get through the end road.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV. To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
Hello and welcome to MyStartup TV. I am at Image COE Startup Demo Day. What happened in the rooms on the other side?
Which is an edtech startup that's developing digital tools to enhance self-image as well as communication skills amongst our users. So Image COE has played a real pivotal role in our startup's journey. We were lucky to be a part of the third cohort. And during this 6-month engagement with them, we have evolved as an organization. We've been given the requisite frameworks which are needed, to put our startup on the path to success. Today's demo day was an opportunity for us to showcase, all our learnings into a demonstratable product. And also look at winning interest from potential investors.
Do you have, as a startup founder, do you have any suggestions for people who want to join a particular incubator, probably the way they can pitch?
An incubator really plays a pivotal role, in a startup's journey. It's beyond just offering, physical spaces, for the startup team members to work, but more than anything, I think the mentorship which is offered, also backed by, some sort of financial support, especially for early stage companies, this actually becomes the oxygen that will actually propel them to greater growth.
People who really want to master that skill.
Well, it all boils down to storytelling. Are you an effective raconteur? Are you someone who can engage an audience? Right? Are you able to, tell a story in a real compelling manner? Are you able to influence, the stakeholders, to, swing their opinion, their thoughts, in favor of your organization, right? So make a compelling story. Make it exciting, be a cut above the rest, be a little unconventional. That is what I would suggest.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
This is Karan here, co-founder of Draper Startup House India. For Draper Startup House, this day today has been a very, very transformative day. This is the biggest and the largest property for Draper across the 20 countries that we exist. It's the largest co-working and co-living. We are around 108 beds with 250 working seats. What does that mean for Telangana? That means we are creating a community for entrepreneurs to live and also work together. We inspire entrepreneurs, we connect them, we enable them. And how do we do that? By doing workshops, panel discussions, and hackathons, and collaborating networking opportunities for people to come together. So what will happen here today is great for Telangana. Why? Also is because the government also enables us. Government is helping us to do these kind of exploratory community living spaces. So at Draper Startup House, we believe collaboration is the only way to grow together. Today has been like a, I would say, transformation for what Draper stood like in 2020. We were just 5 properties. Today 20 plus, and we are still growing. We want to go with the India growth of economy, which is going big, and this is the decade for India. Another 20 years, I would say, is going to be a lot of growth. India is growing, startups are growing, and at Draper Startup House, we see that happening too. And we are looking at least 10 to 20 properties in coming 2 decades. And that's our vision. So we have been just in Bangalore, the Silicon Valley of India. Right now, we feel Hyderabad is kind of catching up. The infrastructure, the government support has been so immense. We felt it is a right place for us to be there and to enable this ecosystem for startups. So how are we doing that? We're getting like-minded entrepreneurs, startup founders, people who are inclusive in the startup ecosystem. To how are we doing it? We are making this co-living and a co-working concept cooler and to be very inclusive. And that way, we are enabling this ecosystem even more to help the government here in Hyderabad to actually create this impact for startups. So here, entrepreneurs can live, collaborate, connect, and also get inspired while they're living and realizing that dream of turning that idea to a business. So this property right now where I'm sitting here is the largest for the Draper Startup House across the 20 properties. So it's a big day for us. I'm so excited. I'm also excited for the India's growth and also excited for Telangana. And I'm there here, and you'll find me here to talk to entrepreneurs to make it happen. So we are open to start the Draper Startup House across India, north, south, east, west. We are doing that. So Hyderabad was the closest because the way the government support has been immense. So we are looking at Goa, we're looking at Kochi, we're looking at Chennai, we're looking at Pune, we're looking at Gurgaon, we're looking at Mumbai, and also in Odisha. So we are talking to stakeholders and decision makers who are passionate to grow these communities in their respective cities across India. I'll be happy to talk to them, see how we can grow this community in their respective places and respective cities. I'm more than happy. I'm reachable at Draper, and you can note down Karan at Draper Startup House. Be happy to answer those queries, calls, or just ping me. I'll be happy to take this discussion forward. That this way we can collaborate and grow.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
Hello, my name is Vikram Bharati. I'm the founder and CEO of Draper Startup House, which is a global organization. We're based in more than 20 countries. We have a very, very big history of venture and building startup communities. But essentially, we exist to do 2 things. We are in the business of human capital development and economic development globally. And these 2 things are very much interconnected, and they are combined together. And the way we envision executing on these 2 things is that we have a very strong vision and mission, which is to help create 1 million new businesses in the world in our lifetime. And by doing so, these two things come together. And we execute on this by essentially doing three things. We build physical startup houses and startup communities around the world that brings everyone together. We invest in companies. And the third thing is education. The whole idea is to get people to upskill and learn new things. And so these three things help us to create more businesses around the world, which we feel is the way that we will contribute to making the world a better place, a more peaceful and prosperous place. Draper Startup House has been operating in India, in Bangalore for the last few years, and that model of the startup house has been very successful. And so now we realize that this is a model that we can grow in different parts of India and across all of India. So we chose Hyderabad as the next launch destination because we found a very good partner who wanted to do this, and because it was the right partner, we decided to do it here. And also, Hyderabad is the up-and-coming startup ecosystem or community in India, and I think the timing is right to put something like this in Hyderabad. But then our goal is to replicate this in 10, 15, 20 cities across India. But our first destination is Hyderabad. So we're very excited to be here, and we really hope that this place will be full of startups from all over India, actually all over the world, because we are located in all over the world, that they will come here and not only build their companies here, but also meet new talent, recruit new talent, etc. Our concept or our idea of investing is to be investing in the future. So we don't necessarily look at things that exist today, but we try to ask ourselves, what is the future? What is the innovation that will happen in the future that we can't even imagine today, but if it does come to fruition, it will change our lives. And this has, I think, been the case in every transformation in history. There's been new technologies that come that at the time people don't understand. It's sort of like when the internet came, people did not understand it, but it transformed our lives. And so we feel that the way we can kind of really move the needle is to be investing in things that are going to build the future. So we look for things that are very new, things that maybe are very misunderstood, things that you may take 3-4 takes to try to understand, and then once you do understand, it becomes so obvious. So those are generally the things that we look for. Now we're sector agnostic, but we're really looking for the new, original, fresh ideas that will help build the future. And we are early stage investors, so we write 100K, 150K checks. We're usually the first check in these types of companies.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
Hi, I'm Vinuta, Chief Community Officer at Draper Startup House, Hyderabad. So today is the launch of the largest, not only Draper's largest, but the largest co-working, co-living community space in India and worldwide. We are celebrating launching a 108 capacity co-living facility and 150 capacity co-working facility. More than this, I think the community space that we have built and the community initiatives that we want to take is what is really exciting for us. So with the launch of Draper Startup House in Hyderabad, we are looking forward to bring an engaging community to the already vibrant startup ecosystem in Hyderabad. We were very happy to have the who is who of the startup ecosystem, investors, mentors, startups, service providers, everybody as part of the event. We have been graced by 7 of the most distinguished personalities in the startup world to be there as our chief guests, who have inaugurated every part of our property, and they've really had a good time having a long stroll through the property. They were very impressed with what they have seen. The Hyderabad startup ecosystem has been home for me personally for over a decade now, and we have done a lot of things right. We have amazing government support. We have, I think, the most bonded startup ecosystem in the country. We have about 75 plus incubators, accelerators, who meet up on a regular monthly basis. And through Draper Startup House community, we want this place to be a space that everybody calls home. Like literally, we want it to be the house for the startup community. You drop in here for your social interactions. You want to just catch up with a couple of entrepreneur friends. You want to meet up with a mentor. You want to, engage in a creative activity which would probably help you in your startup journey. All that is going to happen here at this Draper Startup House.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
Thank you, Anupam, for being here. And I think we all seen the kind of effort being put in by the students of IIT Kharagpur, and we hope today's interaction with Anupam would be very fruitful for all the people sitting here, and also all the people watching a live telecast on mystartuptv.com and other students. Anupam, your journey has been interesting, and I know there are some videos I saw of yours, but it's complete social media blank of yours. We'll be asking about that. Tell us, how did your entrepreneurial journey start, and which was the year you decided that you want to set up and become an entrepreneur, and you want to become an entrepreneur in the edtech sector?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief, right? We can keep it open for them, right? So, to talk briefly about ourselves, for us, three of us, Nexus is co-founded by three of us, myself, Rahul, who is incidentally alumnus of IIIT Hyderabad, and then Sashank. So three of us used to work together in an incubator based out of Hyderabad previously, right? So during that time, three of us were actively hiring for different roles at the previous company that we were working for. So one thing that was really, surprising, shocking, and whatnot was we felt and found the students are really capable and have the potential. But the question, are they carrying enough skills to come and contribute to the workspace immediately after graduation, was a question to us. So that felt us really surprised, because back then the teams with which we were working were instantly to be from tier 1 institutes, call them IITs and IITs, IIITs, BITS, etc. Right? So I won't say at IIT Kharagpur the education was really fabulous, or I learnt everything from my professors or so, but the ecosystem had played a key role, right? I mean, because we have clubs like this, entrepreneurship cell, or beautiful clubs, etc., where we learn from the ecosystem.
And you're also the general secretary of
you have beautiful ecosystem over there which helps you to come out with flying colors, right? So, but then if you look at tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 colleges, is it the ecosystem same, or are they coming up with enough skills which can help them get a job right after their graduation, was a question. So that made us really think that this is something that is really big. The students by the age of 21, students are roughly, at least these days, spending at least 20 to 30 lakhs by then, right? I mean, by the time if they're graduating, if they're not having enough skills which can help them to get a job at least, then it's a serious question on what we are as an ecosystem providing them, right? So that's the starting point of our entrepreneurial journey. So three of us, Rahul, I and Sashank, were equally excited when we started this, and it's been 3 years, fabulous journey ever since then.
Yeah, your platform, you have, after recent funding round 8 months back, you call yourself, or you aim to achieve, to become India's largest employability platform. So tell us about this kind of ambition, and what makes you confident that in the next 1 year, is it the target? Your company is going to reach the target, or probably become this largest employability platform of the country.
So probably, thanks Rahul, in his prior interaction, he took a broad demography of the audience here, right? So
this 500 million, 600 million students?
Yeah, I mean, it is. So more than before I talk about that, so I'm assuming everyone in this room is, engineer, or at least completed their, or pursuing their undergraduation. Is my assumption right? Yeah, I mean, that must be the case, right? So if you look at our whole education journey as such, right? So what are we really putting our all efforts for, right? So at the end, handful of us must be really interested in the research that we'll be carrying out after studies, or some of us might be really interested in entrepreneurship, like Rahul. Since his childhood he was really interested in business, but significant portion of our Indian student segment are really, we are doing what we are doing for the sake of job, right? To get a good job at the end of the day. So now, if you take the whole education sector as such, at the age of 21 or 22, would I really remember what my marks were in mathematics in the 7th grade in my 3rd unit test? Or would I really, care about, do I have enough skills that are required for me to get a good job, right? So, by employability, we mean we plan to stick to get outcomes for what we are doing, right? By outcomes, we mean the job is the outcome. So we are working on a thin line of fire where we are making students say that, you do this is what companies are looking for right now. So we are actively in touch with 3,000 companies or 4,000 companies or so. This is what they're looking for right now. This is the gap that is present in academia industry, a gap. So this is what let's plug in, and this is what you need to study so that clear this, and you will be in a position where you will get a job at least, right? So by employability university, we mean that. So now what makes us confident is, this is an interesting bit which I want to clear the air for a lot of the people. So right now our biggest problem in our journey is not to make students get the job. I'll factually speak this. Right now the number of opportunities that companies are looking to offer to the students are far higher than the number of students who are studying on our platform. That's the irony right now today, right? There must be assumptions that, 9 months back from here, we all heard the stories of mass layoffs in Google, Accenture, Amazon, Microsoft, everything, everywhere page number 1 is filled with such kind of stories. But the brutal, reality is, I can't take absolute numbers, but I'll take in percentages. If we are getting 100 offers from companies saying that, I want to hire for 100 roles, we were able to provide only 20 students as on today. So that's what our confidence is, that, we can become largest employability university, because companies are in dire need of the talent that they want to hire for and they want to solve the problems for, and they're ready to shell out huge, go above and beyond as well. I'll just give an example. So I'm assuming everyone in this room knows about BharatPe, right? BharatPe. So exactly 15 months back, there was an incident where BharatPe was offering, every software developers whom they hire a BMW bike, World Cup tickets to Dubai. Back then 2021 World Cup was happening in Dubai. So tickets to and fro tickets to Dubai, and an iPad. So why are they offering? Because there is such shortage of talent. In order to attract talent, really talented, skillful people, they had to go above and beyond to do that. So these are kind of cases which makes us feel that, there is, even today, this happened to me last month, right? So one of my alums of IT company was like, decade senior to me, came to me saying that he has company in Dubai, IT-based company. So he wants to hire 24 developers. So he came to me and said that, I want to hire. But I told him, sorry, right now we have to keep on waitlist, because the opportunities are so many high that I can't provide enough number of students who are graduating out to you. Then he requested me, why don't you put me on waitlist number 1, because we share the same, alma mater. So that was the kind of situation we are in right now as a society. That's what makes us believe that, we can...
That's nepotism. Yeah, continue.
Not nepotism, but familiarity, whatever you call. That's how the society evolves, right? Yeah. So that's what makes us, believe that there is very huge void in this space that needs to be filled, and collectively it's responsibility of not just, us, but bunch of players. There is a requirement for us all together collectively to help Indian youth coming out from the colleges to make them employable, right? I can second order effect, what we see is, if we don't make them really, skillful to become employable, right? So all the chaos in society starts from there, because age of 20 to 23 is where you have like that, energetic blood. So they're really, agitated with society or education system, and that leads to all the disturbing elements in the society as well. So this is the second order effect that we are really worried about, not just, the straight line that we're looking at.
Admirable. But the premise of Indian youth, especially engineers, not being really up to the mark in terms of what the corporates want or what the market really wants, is a well-known factor. Where does Nextwave, your company, without a E, where does Nextwave make that kind of shift from the kind of trainings we have across the world? We have Amir Pete right next door. So is Nextwave trying to create a kind of a larger scope Amirpet in Anakramgoda, is that what you're attempting? How?
Okay, I'll, how many in this room have tried to appear for JEE or IIT or any other competitive exam? At least tried thinking of attempting. Okay, I can see half a dozen hands, right? So I come from that background. I come from that factory where we were put as students, came out as those kind of with IIT ranks, right? So I'll ask in this way, right? I mean, if we are in such kind of IIT preparatory course, and say for example this year MHRD announces that IIT syllabus is changing. So would the Chaitanya, Narayana, Akash, Fitji, Bansal, etc. Whatnot of the world, would they change their syllabus or not immediately the next day, right? So that's a no-brainer.
They would change, yes.
So now when was the last time the curriculum was changed in tier 3, tier 4 colleges? Because even the administrators want to do that, right? I mean, no college wants to say that I don't want to give placement, but they have their own practical constraints. So we have beautiful colleges, Andhra, Telangana together are owning like around 800 colleges, right? So whenever we talk to administration in the college as well, they are like equally excited to bring some change in the society. But when was the last time curriculum was changed, right? So probably decade or decade and a half back. So okay, decade back, do we have all this digital first transaction? No. So do we have all this digital first, whatever we're doing now? No. So industry is evolving at rapid pace. So now whatever the student has to learn, is that aligned with what industry is really required, right? I mean, so that's what now we call it as, the focus is always on reverse engineered curriculum. When we mean reverse engineered curriculum, look at what companies really want. So, I mean, last 8 months, there has been huge buzz on GPT, right? I mean, everyone, no matter whether they are tech savvy or not,
AI, automation.
GPT, AI, etc. So, they are really worried whether the skills that we are teaching to the students will be really, valid or not. Then we hit on the ground. Personally, three of us, like all three co-founders of us, like went, hit on ground and spoken to MNC CEOs and the talent acquisition heads, engineering managers, etc. What their hiring requirement is going to change. There are certain notes and inputs that we got and we were able to change it within the short span of time.
So was this interaction with the recruiters in constant level interaction? Does it continue so that you keep on getting
So it's not
feedback?
an event based, it's a continuous. So we have it's like it's not like once in 6 months or once in 3 months, it's on daily basis. So you have companies coming in to hire your students, you understand what their requirement is, what they're trying to or expecting from the students. Is the curriculum aligned for that or not, and keep on iteratively changing it. So it's not event based like we do it once in a year, once in 6 months. It's continuously iteratively feedback mechanism that is kicking in.
So Anupam, I have in Next Wave's basic idea of getting students to come to a platform is that you have a large number of testimonials coming from students. Very few of their online presence actually has either Anupam or any of the two co-founders speaking. Is this method of getting in students to come to a platform a very studied method, because there's absolutely huge number of testimonials on your platform?
So, I mean, I see when Rahul was interacting earlier.
Probably explain the kind of testimonials.
Yes, I'll come to that. See, I mean, what we strongly believed in is India is a place where probably having a brand ambassador like Kohli or Salman Kaur or Hrithik Roshan, more than that, what my neighbor or benchmate is saying is much more important to me than what Virat Kohli and Salman Khan are saying to me, right? So say for example, all of us are sitting in a classroom, right? So I mean, for time being, let's forget all our age difference, etc., and assume we are all sitting in the same classroom. I'll take the example of what happened in our case, and I definitely believe this is going to be helpful for every entrepreneur, budding entrepreneur sitting in this room. Say for example, we are all sitting in the same engineering classroom, and all of us are like happy, chill buddies, where we go to first day, first show on Friday, bunk the classes, mass bunk, plan, holiday trips, etc., everything, right? And all of us are like, really close buddies. Say for example, tomorrow, all of a sudden, Sunil comes to me and shows me his mobile and says that, hey dude, like I built exact clone of Swiggy, which looks like exactly Swiggy, but built by me, or exactly clone of YouTube, which is completely built by me. So what will be the reaction of this complete room that is here? I would say nothing less than wow, right? Because all of us are sitting in this classroom, all of us, are like chilling, just one night batting before exams. That's typically what we do in undergraduation days, right? Tomorrow Sunil comes and shows me that he has built an YouTube clone, which has like absolutely, you can't even differentiate between whether it's YouTube or Sunil's YouTube, right? So then obviously next question from all of us is, dude, you're like all of us sitting in the same classroom, sitting on the same bench, listening to the same class, bunking the classes, chilling, enjoying, everything is same, but how come all of a sudden you build that? Your answer will be obviously next wave, if you're a student of next wave, right? So then the kind of impact that it creates in the whole room is something that we can't even achieve by spending $1 million by having a brand ambassador like Virat Kohli or whatnot, like RRR, Stardom or etc. We can't get that kind of impact where everyone is like, wow, I want to get into that, right? So I mean, Cred founder Kunal Shah explained this very well. So India is a place where it's a low trust economy. By low trust economy, we don't trust people very easily. We trust only when someone we know very well endorses it. Right.
So how did you manage to come across this huge number of testimonials on your platform? And always it happens that the people who are speaking, the students who are speaking, the undergraduates who are speaking, they may not be necessarily so voluble or so articulate in terms of expressing the kind of advantages which your platform is giving them. So how do you recalibrate the kind of responses you're getting before you put it on the platform?
Again, this is just continuation of my previous answer, right? So, I mean, just imagine a student for 21 years or after spending 10, 15, 20 lakhs or whatever throughout his education, etc. is coding for the first time and looking at an output for the first time. So we've seen the students where we hear their happy, look at their happy tears immediately after getting the job, right? Because, I mean, just imagine situation of a 20 to 23-year-old guy who graduated, who's not having job. Can he attend family functions peacefully? Definitely no, right? I mean, everyone will be like, what are you up to? What are you doing these days, right? So, though they know the answer, they want to poke at you. Unfortunate, I mean, that's the irony, right? Can they really face their parents happily? No, because they have that guilt that my mom and dad has spent, so much on me that I'm not having this. So now, in such a situation, there is some savior who's coming to you and helping you write from, learn from scratch and teaching you in your own mother tongue, right? I mean, again, tier 3, when we say that we are helping tier 3, tier 4 students, we can't keep our pedagogy and learning in English. So when it's going in vernacular, teaching them in Telugu and they're getting a job, so something that's like, you can't even, so that's what keeps us pumped. I mean, this is going to be common for every industry. The moment you help your customer, the kind of, if you're solving the problem, the kind of happiness they are going to have is, that can't be quantified. So now all it needs is just, capture the raw emotions, which unfiltered candid emotions, which makes the viewer understand that, they can correlate, right? I mean, again, when I say that testimonials play an important role. I mean, that's in fact
was it a model which you saw elsewhere before you implemented it for customer acquisition?
More than that, again, the talking to students is what made us believe this. Talking to more and more students, right? I mean, again, I'll give one example. So, say for example, Sundar Pichai is an Indian, right? So he's from Tamil Nadu. So if I go to Tamil Nadu student and say that if you study well, you can become Sundar Pichai, it's unrelatable to him. He can't even relate with that guy because Sundar Pichai has gone to IIT Kharagpur and post that I think he has gone to GSB or Stanford or Wharton somewhere, right?
It's been to Kharagpur, yeah.
Kharagpur post that he has gone to Wharton or somewhere in US as well, right? So now, as a student from tier 3, tier 4, definitely can't correlate to him. But I can correlate to someone who is similar to me with similar background, similar stuff, similar problems having, similar, academic, not a prodigy, academic background, like similar grades, etc. Right. If that guy is able to do that, then this platform is going to be helpful to me. Right. So this is going to be common for every startup. So if we can talk in the language of what their our customer base is, and if they can correlate that, if that guy got benefited, then I can definitely get benefited through this.
Right. So when you decided to acquire customers, how did you scale up the model, and what's the kind of future? Because you have acquired a certain set of students who you promise, you give the courses, you also offer employment. What's the next step in this? What's the scaling up going to happen, and in what phases?
So, I mean, there are few sectors in India which I believe are really fortunate, like edtech, health tech, fitness tech. These are the domains that I feel. Say for example, how many in this room knows Healthify Me, Cult Fitness, or these kind of startups? Healthify Me, I mean, we keep seeing the ads, right? So, I mean, these are the domains where you deliver the outcome, you need not do any marketing. I want to do show off. If I'm a student, if I got the job, I want to go to everyone in this room and tell that I got a job, right? I mean, I don't want to sit silent, because when I didn't have a job, everyone in this room got to me and poke me that, don't you have job, don't you go have job, right? Now, it's my, right, or my, whatever. I want to go to every single person in this room and say that though they don't ask me that, I got a job, right? Tomorrow I'm going to host a party. Why don't you come there, right? So now the obvious next question from everyone in this room is, how have you gotten the job? The answer is going to be next wave. Similarly, just imagine a health for me, a guy with obese, like having 120 kgs of weight, is coming down to, say for example, 90 kgs of weight in, say, 9 months.
Okay.
So everyone is going to ask, or that guy is going to go, I mean.
But how is next wave implementing this idea? Like you are.
I mean, we need not implement, right? I mean,
you are going to
so, I mean, there are two parts. So a student, if you deliver the outcome, the student is not going to sit silent. And the parents are not going to sit silent in the first place. So, say for example, my dad, who is in a job and not having job for last 2-3 years, if I got a job now, my dad would be more than happy to put it in all family groups saying that, Anupam has gotten a job now. Just imagine tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 guy who face that kind of pressure from society related
to pitch in your company name when they advertise.
That's the derivative of loyalty, right? I mean, just
okay, now the important question is, how do you build this kind of a loyalty with the students? Because obviously they're not sitting in front of you. Yours is essentially an online class mainly. So they're not sitting in front of you. How do you build this kind of loyalty so that these students can go back home and say that I learned it from next wave?
Whatever I'm going to say, I think it's applicable for across industries, not just for next wave or a tech as such, right? So, see, any user or customer coming to you means they must have tried or burned their hands with at least 3 or other 4 similar players, or someone who's providing similar value proposition. They have done their college, probably they must have tried something else. They have tried campus placements or offline interest, etc., etc. So now they have seen darkness to appreciate the light. That's a simple thing. So in order to build the loyalty, what we felt was just give the right value proposition to the user, because if a user is coming to you, which means they have spent like 3-4 other places. Again, going back to the same previous example, Healthify.me. Before I take up the Healthify.me subscription, I must have definitely met, or I must have tried to hit the gym prior, or I must have tried to wake up myself every day morning 5:30 a.m. or 6 a.m. and jog, lift weights, etc., whatnot, right? I must have tried 3 or 4 things which couldn't give me results, and now I am looking at Healthify.me. The reason why I'm referring to Healthify.me is because we continuously draw inspiration from, not from edtech, we draw inspiration from fitness tech and health tech.
But Anupam, there's this interesting aspect in this format in which you're approaching. One is the customer loyalty part, but also you need trained people who, when they're facing students, your customers, they're trained to say things and trained to deliver your message. So what's the kind of training you inculcate in the people who are facing the students or the customer client facing executives?
Again, one thing we understood is no matter how much you say in phone call, it's the trust that's going to win the customer. So now again, trust. Say for example, a student is coming to you saying that, sir, I'm a mechanical student, graduate in 2019 with 3 years or 4 years of career gap, and I didn't have any prior experience. Would I get a job? You have to say nothing. Just provide 20-30 video testimonials of students who have gotten, similar from similar background, have gotten a job. That is enough, right? I mean, okay, so there is Anupam, who is mechanical graduate, 2019, 4 years gap, he got a job. There is Sunil, mechanical, 2018, who has 5 years of career gap, has gotten a job. There is someone else who has 6 years of career gap, gotten a job. So now, okay, so there are 20 people or 30 people like me, exactly like same academic track record, same, tier of college, exactly same, all the variables are same. Now, if they have gotten a job, then there is something that, I can also get a job. So that's what is going to play a key role. And I feel no matter how much pushy or, how much attempt that we make, it's impossible to gain the trust of the customer unless we feel, yes, I mean, there can be some results. But one thing we understood in working in, India, I mean, the reason why I'm talking India is prior to starting up NestWave, I was majorly part of, US and Middle East markets. So one thing we understood in India is, it is highly trust game. No, whatever industry you are, you need to gain trust of customer in order to, turn them as your paid customers. In order to gain the trust, probably, brand ambassador, etc., can help to certain level. Okay. But your existing customers who got benefited from you are your walking, talking brand ambassadors. Okay. Nothing can beat that.
Yeah, Anupam, as an entrepreneur, what will be advice to youngsters? You started your company in 2020, and okay, what will be your advice to youngsters sitting out there who would want to start their own company? What kind of path they have to start on? What kind of mentors they have to approach? What kind of funding they use? So what has been your journey and what kind of advice? So these are the two parts we'll probably try to conclude.
So I'll try to keep it, probably it may go a little philosophical as well. I'm just giving heads up, right? So probably, my generation of entrepreneurs, I'm talking about majorly, my generation and current generation of entrepreneurs, somewhere to us, everything has been commoditized or readily available. Like what I mean by commoditized is you have a really good idea and you have really good, oratory skills and, analytical skills, you can get funding. That's not a really difficult thing today because, there are like bunch of,
so good presentation skills is something.
Good storytelling skills. There are a bunch of HNIs out there in India and, capital is commoditized. And hiring people to a certain extent, that is commoditized. Everything is commoditized. So everything is so easily approachable these days that, you can start your own company just like, how you go to Domino's and say that, I want, veg loaded pizza. As simple as that these days, by simple I mean doing the base work, right? But to have sustainable and, which we can, to drive towards the right path, one thing that I feel is somewhere because of all this have become so accessible, thought process has become so much, narrowed down that we are picking only low-hanging fruits. By I mean low-hanging fruits. If I want to drive customer acquisition, let me go onto Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Let me do digital marketing. I'll get some leads that will give me the, customers. So Anupam can do that. Sunil can do that. Everyone in this room, sitting in this room, can do that. Or they can hire people or agency and can do that. But what different am I doing so that this is the secret recipe of Nestwave or Anupam's? So that this is going to, help me get customers at, a different level. So something which is not obvious, which is not low-hanging fruit, should be identified in every aspect. That could be it product, be it your customer acquisition style, be it your hiring. So I'll come to an example where during our hiring time, we started in 2020 October, we went to hire, into the market to build our team. So 2021 around July, August times. So if you guys remember, 2021 was period where, you wake up, you hear to a story of new unicorn, right? There was one day where at 8 a.m. there was 91st unicorn, at 12 noon there is 92nd unicorn, 6 p.m. there is 93rd unicorn, 9 p.m. there is 94th unicorn, right? In single day there are 4 unicorns. So for the people who are new to this term unicorn is the term given to a company whose value is $1 billion in Indian rupees, close to, as on today, 8,500 crores. So in a day, by the time you sleep and wake up, there is a new unicorn coming, which means the fund is coming in, just like the dam opened its gates.
So how can a person sitting in a tier 2 city who has a brilliant idea, how can you approach investors? What kind of skills he needs to have in his final years, for example? Or also the question of feedback. Everybody has an idea, but how do you ensure that the idea you have has the right feedback so that you solidify the idea and you make it more concrete and you're more confident of the idea? So what's the internal mechanism or external mechanism for this?
There are two parts. One, validating the idea. Second part is approaching the investors, right? So validating the idea, I feel, no day idea is going to be perfect. So again, product market fit and all these things are like, it's a journey rather than like Rahul was mentioning prior here of one school. So it's a journey rather than, a single destination, right? So at certain point, you continuously keep iterating, you understand that, okay, so this is my value prop is going to be helpful to customers. So now a customer is paying me for this value prop, right? So that's probably first part. Second part, the next panel discussion, which is about investment and other things, they can also answer it much better. So see, investors also wants to invest, right? The capital which is sitting in their bank account, they don't want to keep it at the fixed deposit of 5%, 6% returns which is giving.
But
right?
How does it come to the person who has this brilliant idea?
Yes, so even investors are in search of really good people where they can put their money in, right? So, when we start our fundraising journey, one thing we were surprised is, we didn't know that people would reply to your cold mail. We were surprised to know that. We started our journey there, right? So every investor wants to invest given the confidence.
How many cold mails did you?
So I mean, almost 100% hit rate it was. Like almost every cold mail we've sent, there was a response from the big shots we hear in the industry of investors to the angels, etc. Everyone.
That's heartening.
Right. I mean, coming to the same topic again. So investors want to invest their capital because they don't want to get just that 5-6% returns from FD or whatever they're getting from the bank by putting it in the bank account, right? So they want to invest in startups so that they can get multiplied returns. So now there is a lot of clutter out there, right? I mean, there are like probably 1,000 mails that an investor is going to receive, etc. So now how we can keep it there are two simple ways I feel. One, having a referral. So, say for example, I know 10 investors. If someone is approaching me and if I'm really convinced, I would put a word to, investor A, B, C saying that, hey dude, like, I know this guy who has built really fabulous startup. I think it's worth, your attention. So that's one thing. Second thing, if you're going to do, cold email or you're going to have it networking events or etc., it's important to have 2-3 metrics or 2-3 lines which definitely grabs their attention, saying that, these are the 3 things that we achieved so far, and these 3 things is what we are looking next. So if these 2 things can grab their attention, because I believe investors would receive at least 10 to 50 to 100 to 500 emails any given day. But how quickly we can grab their attention and make them feel that this is worth my time, right? So again, investors would evaluate probably 100 startups and invest in one, but how we can filter into that 100 is the next big thing.
Time seems to be running out as usual. So any final thoughts on wisdom you want to share with people here, budding entrepreneurs?
So, one thing that really helped us...
and we all should take note of what Anupam is saying because he's rarely seen and heard. So let's hang on to his...
So, see, I mean, one thing that we understood after starting Nest5 is it's important to, think beyond what's so obvious in every decision that we want to make. Right? As said, if you want to do customization, there might be 2-3 quick ideas that you get, let me go and advertise on Google, let me go and put up a hoarding near, whatever near the highway or etc. or whatever it is. Hit pause, think again, think about alternate ways with which you can do so that can act as your secretary. Whatever, think just beyond obvious, right? I mean, when we sit for, our own internal ideation session or brainstorming for everyone, first 1 minute ideas that we get are which are so obvious to everyone, right? I mean, that's the common thing which all of us get. Hit pause, just take little more time, think about, something that's not so obvious that I can do, so that can help as my, competitive, you call it competitive advantage, call it secret recipe, call it moat, whatever, right? So that is something that is, which helped us to pick something that is not so obvious, not so low hanging, pick something that is eventually go and act as your competitive advantage. That's what, the biggest thing that I can share to anyone.
Hi Anupam, I would like to know the first initial journey, because it's an online journey, right, that you started with. How did you meet the first customers and then crack that 0 to 1?
So it was during COVID, so no chance to meet them in person. So lockdowns, etc. were there, right? So one thing we've done was we, even before the product started shipping out, we started building, WhatsApp communities. So believe me or not, at certain point, we were having 2 lakh people in our WhatsApp groups in 3,000, spread across 3,000 WhatsApp groups. So we were just building on, community by sharing, simple. I think everyone in this room knows news in shorts, right? In shorts where we just swipe to read the news.
Yeah.
So such small nuggets of tech stuff we were providing to every student. So students were like, chalo, let me get added to the WhatsApp. This is what's wrong. They are providing something insightful every day. I mean, if you guys know FinShots, similar to FinShots, right? So that way we had large pool of community back then. So then we started shipping out our products slowly. Then, few people join, few people don't join any day. So for us, even today, one thing that we really, give a lot of importance is any given day, out of 100, people who are approaching you, there will be people who are not opting for your product will be far more than the number of people opting for your product. That's the, nature's law, right? I mean, the majority will be the number of people who are not opting for your product. It's important to learn from each and every one of them why they are not, opting for your product. And again, if you just ask this question outrightly, they won't answer, right? Correct. So we used to do anonymous user calls saying that, I want to keep it off record, but fine. So we call the users and talk as if I am also a student who is willing to join NestWave. What is his recommendation or his or her recommendation? Whether they would ask me, allow me to join NestWave or not. So they would say, bro, it's fine to join NestWave, but there are these 2-3 concerns that I have. That's why I didn't join, right? So had I called him like NestWave's representative, probably they wouldn't have told me this, right? So try to get as much candid feedback as possible. And sometimes here we'll get into bias where we don't want to hear some stuff which we are not really happy or comfortable with. But let's be brutal and honest, harsh against ourselves to take the feedback. So nudge them, poke them, and take anonymous feedback as much as possible, so that which helps you to give right things. What is making user to not opt for your product, right? And this is going to be eternal forever.
And one other question followed with that. Basically, we are looking at a larger vision. Okay, let's talk about the big problem that we want to solve. But today, that problem everyone knows, but no one want to act. Okay, now for us, taking that into the market is a big challenge, because it's a mission which everyone want to talk about or even think through, but no one want to act for. So how do you think we should plan out such things?
See, by chance do you know Skyroot, which is Hyderabad-based startup again, right? I mean, Skyroot, which is into space technology.
Aerospace technology, the first rocket launch.
Yeah, first private rocket launched apart from, so I think all of us since our childhood, we have aspirations of becoming astronaut or something like that, right? I mean, looking at the cool stuff that they wear and the rockets they travel, etc. So all of us had that cool thing. But I think they were in the same portion that you were, I mean, there are tons of startups like this, right, which are in the same portion that everyone feels that, this is really good to have thing, but no one wants to take that bold step ahead, right? So I think it boils down to a couple of things. So one, how strong is our conviction in solving that problem which no one has solved for? How well we can, instill confidence in someone who is listening to me that, yes, there is a path to this, there is a distance. Say, for example, from here I want to go to Mumbai on road, right? So if I say that, I don't know how to go to Mumbai, no one will trust and join in my car. So I need to say that, from here to, I need to go till point A, point B, point C, from there I need to take this highway, then I need to, clear this toll gate, then I'll get into Bombay. So if I can tell them that, stepwise sequence, then they'll have the confidence to get onto my car if I have to go to Bombay, right? So similar thing is in my startup journey. Be it investor, be it team member, be it, anyone, you have a destination in your mind. So all it takes is how well we can instill confidence in them that, dude, this is the path, this is how I'm strongly confident about going, and why am I capable of doing this? Right. So if I want to have someone in my car, and if I tell them that this is the first time I'm driving my car, no one would come in, right? True. So I need to show them that, I have the, capability to drive the car for 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours non-stop if you have to go there. And my prior track record shows that, I can do this. Right. So two things. One, the destination is clear, the path is clear. And two, to drive that path, I am the capable person to drive that path. So these two things, if you can instill, even if it is like, untaken path or untaken roads, people will be really happy to explore that. That's what I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're trying the first path in this the two segments, right? The first segment, who is the captain and riding the ship, and then second is the path that you are choosing. I think we might need some discussion further, support and all of that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I guess that wraps the session up. Thank you very much, sir. It was very great, and I could really relate to the KGP parts that you mentioned. That was really great.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
In today's age and time, people seek to be part of a community or communities they can identify with. Helping people find their connect is Emilio, a startup that seeks to transform cities into curated microcosm of open, hyper-local communities. It is helping expand social horizon through the power of food and AI. Hello and welcome to this episode of Founder Talk on MyStartuptv, a dedicated media channel for startups and entrepreneurs. I'm majorsunilshetty. Joining us is Shekhar Dixit, who's the founder and CEO of Emilio. He is a former Big Four senior executive, a foodie, and whose company has declared among the Google top 3. Welcome, Shekhar. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Major ji. So thank you for inviting me for this legendary talk. Thank you very much.
I'm very curious to, or intrigued to know what is the connection between food and AI.
food and AI, I mean, see, the AI is all over us, right? It's dawning on us, and there's not if or when, and how are we adapting to the AI? And we feel like food is something that's been sustaining us for ages, and the power of AI can transform our experiences through personalization and by simplifying choices. There are great benefits that we can reap through AI, and that's what we'll be unleashing in the power of technology in a couple of months.
Food and AI, and then your tagline, how does that fit into each other, as in building communities with love of food, right? That's what your tagline is all about. So firstly, how far have you come on a scale of 1 to 10, and how are you integrating all these things together?
Certainly, I mean, I would say that we are probably at the number 6, right? Unleashing the power of community and food with AI and creating the surprise and happiness with many. But I would like to share a bit of a backdrop story on how we got motivated in the first place. So this starts around last year when I moved to Pune, right around July of last year. I live in a bustling township of 10,000 flats, and yet I realized that I know only 10 people in the community and entire 50 people in the city, vibrant city like Pune. And I was thinking for myself, like, despite the social networks like Facebook, which have near become entertainments and engagement these days, or WhatsApp, which is completely closed communities, you can only join if somebody invites you. I'm not really able to explore my social horizon beyond what these networks are giving me, and they're hindering my exposure. And there's so much that city like Pune or Hyderabad has to offer for someone like me, and understand and meet up with people. And I said, what if we build hyper-local communities that is open for you to explore, saying what are the groups, and they are curated by your locale or different interests, and you're able to open to go and join those communities, meet up with some new set of people what city has to offer. And what if you take that and glue it up with something that is as strong as food? For thousands of years, the communities were smaller, festivities were the way of life, and food has always been the conduit or
as a central part of it.
As a central part of it. So I said, while we are entertaining and building these communities, right, we wanted to foster and bring them together, create meaningful connection over food. And that's when we say that when two people meet, right, imagine those last 5 instances or encounters you had, food, drink or coffee has been part of that conversation. And that's how we wanted to bring that excitement of food in forming better communities, helping people and expand their social horizon. And when it comes to AI, and I would say food is something that is unique for each one. And one size fits all is not like t-shirt that food goes, and that's how most of the platforms as well as industries have evolved into saying mass marketing or buffet style approach. Whereas food is so much that is unique for each taste. So that is how through our platform we learn your taste behaviors, your preferences, your dietary restrictions, and make sure that each time you dine out, those things are taken not only in simplifying the choices that you get each time you go out, but also take those preferences and digitally send it to the kitchens through the power of partnership that we have done with POS.
So in today's world of Zomato and Swiggy, where does Emilio fit in?
I would respond that into 3 parts. See, one, when you talk about food, just some statistics I'll try to share. There are, the Indian market itself, there's 1.4 billion people out there. The more population increasing, food and their spend on food is also increasing exponentially, right? That's one fact. The second, today the total Indian food spend as per NRAI is roughly around 4.78 lakh crore rupees, of which only 5% of that been put into a marketplace, still leaving so much of food that is digitized through paid through Paytm or POS, but not aggregated to marketplace. That's the second space. The third, our element, I just want to state the facts and then get into the differentiation. And third element is, when you look at food and eating out or dining in, there's so many different ways of engagement we get in. Only delivery has been one part of the problem that's been solved, leaving the opportunity for us to solve many other ways of interacting with food that we have on a daily basis, and simplifying the journey and give you a better control, right? So these are statements of facts that I want to make sure we bring in. So from a differentiation perspective, I use a simple phrase. I would like to say that here. See, Swiggy and Swiggy and Zomato, with respectfully, they deliver food. For us, the tagline has been delivering happiness with food. I think that's where first thing we bring into the equation is, helping you meet more people within your own cities and neighborhood, right? So that way, with food you have joy of not only meeting up with your own set of people you hang out with, but also possibly meet up with new set of people and continue to explore and have that joy and happiness with food, right? The second part is really allowing you to have simplified choices. An example I would cite, if you're planning to go out for an anniversary with your wife, or a birthday for your kid, right? Rather than going out to the same old place and having the same old thing, there is an opportunity for us to create a curated experiences, which is what we have launched in Pune, and we are learning through experiments that is what is the need of the hour. That people are willing to spend money, but they are not having those experiences, and that is the second differentiation we bring to the market. First is social communion, spreading joy with food. Second is building and having experiences of eating out and having those elements. And third is our entire model has been built in such a way that we are able to create this value and happiness through the power of partnership and AI, right?
So
and
when you say talk about partnership, could you elaborate upon that as to what kind of partnership are you building?
So a couple of examples I would like to bring in. So we are already live. Dunzo, which is one of the popular delivery partner, is we have done a pilot with them in Pune. So without putting our boots on the ground, we are able to deliver food and happiness to your own comfort of space of home or outside, right? So with this partnership, we are able to exactly do what anybody else did much better.
So yes, also your cost comes down there.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And the second partnership, we are partnered with some of the popular POS systems, which gives us access to the market scale of customers. But at the same time, all those personalization that we talked about through the power of AI and choices, we are able to take those instructions directly to the kitchen so that the people cook the food the way you wanted, and it becomes an experience of your own each time, right? That's the second set of partnership with POS, because they are better in that space, right? And the third one is the ONDC. I don't know if you've heard of ONDC, but that's the next biggest revolution or tide that's going to be seen or known by the industry from next year on. So what UPI did for wallets, if you know, the time before, each time you had to fill in wallet and Paytm, PhonePe, and there was no interoperability. So UPI solved that interoperability, and you see wider adoption across everybody here. Cash nahi mujhe UPI karo, right? So the same thing the ONDC is doing with the democratization of the e-commerce, right? And our philosophy from day one has always been use the right mind for the right purpose. That's how we wanted to use the leverage of Dunzo being the best delivery network, or maybe there are 100 others that we are able to use through ONDC and have the delivery catered at your convenience. Bring in restaurants of your choice rather than us going restaurant by restaurant trying to manage the supply. So through the power of partnership and the ONDC, we are able to bring any restaurant and make that choice available to you. And this is how we are leveraging partnership and the power of AI in bringing personalization and experience along with people.
What next for you? I mean, you have been, top 3 in Google. You got some funding from them. You want to talk about that a bit, and also you're also part of the India Startup Festival, the first edition, where you're among the top 10. So if you can just share about your experience there and what next for your startup.
So journey began with us winning the award of top 10 in ISF last year, right around the same time. And that was the biggest accolade. With that, despite the funding winter we all know about, we are blessed to have a good support of mentors and access to people. I think that's what I'm realizing more. Despite the 2 decades of corporate consulting and CXO experience, it is always about learning and having the right people around you to walk along the journey. And as an entrepreneur, that's my biggest learning I've taken from here. And through the ISF network, I've met a lot of great mentors. We have raised some funding through ISF angels as well as other angel groups in the early part of the year. And then that also paved the path to get into the Google cohort. We have been fortunate to be top 30 in Asia Pacific and ANZ, which is an accolade that was given only to 3 companies in India. And we were one of them. And we also received a 200K in investment from Google. That's a sense of excitement. And from ever since, that propelled our trajectory. And now in the second edition of ISF, we volunteered, or we were part of the core group in organizing the event and so on. Because I'm a firm believer of giving back in a way so that way it becomes more sustainable. Right? While I've received a blessing in mentorship disguise, and we're still on our journey of figuring out how to go to the next, we have volunteered and be part of the core organizing team of the ISF 23, which has seen tremendous success with 10,000 startups coming in, and definitely helping a couple of other founders and startups in a similar set of journey who were probably a year earlier. So it's been part of that ISF. And certainly with Google, we've been blessed to not only get the support on technology, we have assigned mentors from them who are helping us day in and out. We're also getting access and nexus to their investment network. I mean, you know Google, right? It's
Yes.
all over the place, and certainly we feel very positive on, once we get it to from 6 to 7, which is going to happen within this year, it's going to unleash a completely new era that people have not seen, especially hyperlocal social networking, meeting more people to what city has to offer. It's going to disrupt two spaces. One is how food is taken in, not just as a commodity to consume, but as an experience to meet along with people. And the social networking, which has been sheer entertainment, it really creates some meaningful connections and forge some conversations over it.
And what next?
So next we have a couple of things on the plan, but I would like to share a few. One, despite us building the open network which you are able to explore, curated based on the entire city getting transformed into microcosms, we are also looking to enable the power of food and AI onto existing communities rather than unrooting from them. For example, we'll be creating some options or exposing these options on top of existing WhatsApps and Telegrams, so that people who are conversing or communicating over those networks are able to use the choices and experiences that we built through our platform.
And ease of access, right?
Ease of access. I think that's the first point I keep bringing in, that today in the world, there are too many choices confusing us. Simplification choice is one of the biggest favor we can do for ourselves, right, through means of technology. And that is one thing that we'll be looking into. And second is certainly, while we feel the pain of social exposure being constricted in the urban cities, such pain exists not only just in India but also many other countries which are much more, the social fragmentation much more widespread. So we see this as an opportunity of building something great in India and taking it across to places, and to the US, Dubai, and I've lived there in places quite developed and sprawling countries. But when you look at social psyche or how people come together, it's a lot of opportunity for us to bring a platform like this and create that community and communion over food.
And food, having traveled myself a bit, in different parts of the world, food is a common language, right? People speak, they get together, they form community around food. So which is, makes a lot of sense in what you're doing. What has been the experience of your users or the people who use Amelio today?
Certainly, see, from the restaurant we are actually getting a lot of patronage. Today we have 50 restaurants. We have just limited to experiment with few, but we have another 250 lining up to be on board. So that shows us that we are doing something that they are loving or liking. And from a user perspective, so far what we have done and shown to the world is we can do things much better, 10x better than what our predecessors have been doing. And with the community angle coming up, and we see a lot of excitement, more importantly, because when we began this journey, we did an extensive interview with around 500 people of different age group, different strata, and see, hey, this is our concept. If I give you the opportunity of open networking within the city, is that something exciting? And that's how we've learned through the experience and start building the product and the platform, right? That's the one segue that we've seen that in Pune. But over and beyond, it just seems to be a very exciting time, in many facets. While we are getting out of the funding winter, things are looking spring on a different angle. The whole India is going through a big transformation with startups. All of us have known about it. There's nothing new that I'm sharing here, but I'm just reiterating or preaching to the choir. So definitely we are at the right time and space, I believe, and we have got a right support in terms of investors and the mentors, and definitely we just need to cross the bridge. That's going to be happening within the next 3 to 6 months, and that creates a new avenue and opportunity for us to take it and spread it across.
Shekhar, thank you for being on our show, and we wish you all the very best, and you continue to build community with not just communities but community with the flavor, with the taste. Thank you.
No, absolutely. I think, other than food, we definitely want to bring more things to the communities as we go in entertainment and content. But at this stage, the food being the strongest glue, we'll start off with that, giving something more and spread happiness with food. Food is our first motto.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure talking to you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
Good evening, everyone. Respected Ayajram Reddy Garu, MSR Garu, and Manisha Sabu, President ICIA, and my fellow managing committee members at ICIA, distinguished panelists, startup founders, investors, mentors. I welcome you all for the third HICIA Catalyst event, and you already heard Shanti telling you that as an organization, as an Apex IT organization, we represent more than 90% of Hyderabad IT and IT industry, both in terms of revenue and headcount. And having witnessed a phenomenal growth that is happening society at large, especially in the sustainability space, because sustainability is no longer under good to have category, it is under must to have category for many organizations. Having seen a transformational change happening in that sector, and also looking at various business opportunities that are emerging in ESG sector, HICIA has put its spotlight on ESG as one of the key focus areas. Apart from talent and transformation and skill development, ESG is one of the key focus areas for HICIA team for the term 2020 to 2024. As part of this initiative, what HICIA did was it has created a ESG forum, and ESG forum mostly consists of subject matter experts from the member companies, and we also have some independent private property consultant firms, representatives from independent property consultant firms, and then some consulting companies, NGOs, government. So what we did was, for the last 1.5 years, we have focused on uplifting 3 aspects in Hyderabad IT corridor. One is the green energy, the other one is e-waste management, and the third one is green mobility. And this forum members actively involved with Telangana government, Telangana State Electricity Regulatory Commission, who are having large IT parks, tech parks, and small and medium scale companies. And we also work with startup ecosystem, such as we have got exclusive partnerships with T-Hub and educational institutions like IIIT Hyderabad, and trade bodies like Federation of Telangana Chambers of Commerce, right? And we also work with NGOs, and we also work with real estate companies here. So what we do is, overall, as our motive, we were working on uplifting the ESG posture of our member companies. We were trying to help them in embedding E, S, and G aspects in their business decision-making process and their organization culture. And we're bringing the ecosystem together so that they can look at sharing the best practices, and also look at the future trends and opportunities. So we have been doing it actively. Apart from this, one of the main focus area for this ESG group, HICIA ESG group, is continuously deliberating on how would we upskill, how would we increase the scale of the ESG scale of, or ESG posture of the Hyderabad IT corridor as such. We know that Hyderabad is a popular IT destination for the larger MNCs across the world, and we wanted to ensure that it would continue to remain as an attractive IT destination, not just because of the existing IT ecosystem and the talent pool, but also because of the ESG attractiveness too. And that's what we are trying to work, and we have made good progress in that area. And looking at the Catalyst event and today's event, so as you heard that this is the third in the series. We first started with fintech and then life sciences, and the third one is ESG. So this is a testament to the fact that HICIA's continued efforts towards the sustainability area. And what we did was, we reached out to all our member companies and asked them to share their focus areas and the areas of pain, right? And then we collated all this information from them, and then we reached out to the startup ecosystem. And when we did this analysis, we have come up with we identified a few themes from our member companies, such as green energy and clean tech. We got waste management, both solid and e-waste. We've got carbon footprint management. We've got water management, and then we also have SDG mapping and reporting. So we reached out to the wider startup ecosystem, and we invited applications. I know there are many startup founders sitting here, and only 8 of them have been shortlisted for the panel discussions. So it is because we were looking at the interests of our member companies first. So, and then we try to understand what areas that they are focusing on, and that's the reason why some of you have been chosen to be to be one of the finalists and partake in the panel discussion. But we were so excited to see all the entries, and you guys are doing amazing work, and you are the companies, which the world needs. And today, this catalyst, through this catalyst event, we wanted to promote, the collaboration, connections for all the startup founders with the industry, mentors, investors, and some exciting discussions are going to happen. You will hear good keynote speeches, panel discussions, right? And then some, exciting announcements, agreements are going to unfold on this dais. So I wish you all the best, and I would want you to make the most use of this time and the networking, and please stay back until the end of the event, participate in the networking dinner, and make the most out of this event. So thank you very much.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
A. Ayodhya Ramireddy, founder of Ramki Group of Companies, our special invitee and keynote speaker for the evening. I have quite a few things written about him which are very specific to this group, and you will be interested in knowing that. Ramki Group, founded in 1994, is a pioneer in executing many public-private partnership projects with a vision. This will be interesting for you. With a vision of sustainable development in emerging global markets, including India. Under Ramki Enviro Engineers Limited, they provide comprehensive environment management services for commercial, industrial, and municipal customers. Listen to this. They offer a whole gamut of best-in-class services for waste management as hazardous, municipal, biomedical, and e-waste, recycling, wastewater, paper, plastic, and integrated waste. In addition, they also offer renewable energy consultancy and integrated environment services. So this must be making complete sense as to why we have him as our special guest today. He is currently a member of the Rajya Sabha. He's passionate. This will be very interesting for the startups. He's passionate about startup and entrepreneurial mentorship. So all that you have to do is just walk up to him and seek for that. And he offers this under the ARR group. As a keynote speaker, we'll get his insights on navigating the path to sustainable prosperity, ranging from green energy to carbon credits. Ayodhya garu.
I'm extremely happy to be here for this evening function. The program Catalyst, organized by HISIA, support from T-Hub, and all the invitees here, are sitting here with the purpose to see, how all of us can be, most of us, how we can contribute to the growing economic situation, balancing the sustainability while we are growing economically. If you look at India for the last 75 years, we have grown. But if you look at, there were a lot of gaps in our growth. Globally also, similar situations. The time we have reached here for next 25 years for India and for the globe, I think the time has come. While the economics grow up, carbonomics have to come down. So that means there is a real opportunity for every stakeholder to look back and then see how they can improve the environment in the areas where they are working. As you all know, environment is God. All the 5 elements embedded in that. So when I look at myself starting this journey in 1994 to build sustainable solutions for the businesses are the life path which I have taken. Everywhere I try to see sustainability as a key goal. United Nations has come out with their sustainable development goals, as you all aware, are most important from my point of view. I always kept on talking about those goals, which really brings us at a platform where each one of us has to, can really balance our businesses around that. Now, my experience I want to share, while I say how India has moving from a 4 trillion to 40 trillion in next 25 years, it is asking for a 10 lakh crores of investment only in the infrastructure space. If you look at that infrastructure around agriculture, manufacturing, services, and the infrastructure, all these 4 areas combinedly, the infrastructure investment that is going to go is to that extent, almost 40 lakh crores of investment every year. In that, coming to the waste management space. Waste management in urban areas and industrial areas. If you look at the solutions around these two, has a major impact. The moment we talk of this building, the entire design, engineering, the products that are going to get in, the entire execution, the operation and maintenance. At every phase, there is a lot that we can save. Here, that is an opportunity for a startup, which was not looked at in the past. Around every industry, same thing, civil infrastructure, environmental infrastructure, social infrastructure that we have built. Most of the places we have never applied our mind. While we had environmental impact assessment, environmental audits, environmental monitoring programs, they have never focused the way it is supposed to be. So means the diagnosis that you can bring in all these 4 areas of investment for next 25 years within India, a huge opportunity around environment, which will bring in the best of the impact on the social aspects. So, I have built a business model, whether it is in infrastructure construction, or the environment and waste management, or the real estate and the agri-farming, or the consultancy and advisory, in which Ramki Group, actually now I am only a founder. There is a team, professional team, with the best of board and governance, shareholders are happening. But my last 35, 40 years of journey, my past journey, actually what I have seen in these areas, actually this company and this group has built around that. So when I look back and see from now to next 25 years, looking at these sort of investment opportunities, I think this is the place where I can tell you, if I was doing a 100 rupee business and making a 10 rupee profit, I can tell you with the same resources in place, I can ensure that this business goes up from 100 to 200 and this 10 profit goes to 30. That is the type of opportunities where the entire startup ecosystem has an opportunity to build for themselves. So I just wanted to tell all of you that you are at a right spot. You have the government facilitating, both from central government to various state governments, including Telangana. And then in ecosystem like HICIA and T-Hub, facilitating and hand-holding, I can see putting up the right kind of mentors and subject matter specialists coming in place, the future is fantastic for every mentor and for every startup. But I wanted to tell few things for these startup entrepreneurs. For all of you, there is a good business opportunity. We also know where is that opportunity. We also have solutions. But the issue is, for all the startups, I want you to know that the business knowledge is very important. The knowledge that you have to accrue in terms of identifying or in terms of diagnosing the opportunities in the existing environmental platform, I think, you should, for that you must work in that sector. Just coming from school, it's good, everybody have interests, etc. But my experience I wanted to tell, because from 2006 onwards, I have been, I was mentoring, I was investing around few startups. More than 23 I have invested. Okay, but not a great success story, because my sector itself was not matured enough, and still, a lot of risks in the system, so people were not ready to take up. But I can tell you the time is ready right now. Now it is the right time. So understand the knowledge, for that diagnose, get into the entire spectrum of waste management, water management, wastewater management, air pollution control, noise pollution control, solid waste management, and all the tools of environment for governance. So we have to understand that. Then that adds with the skills that we need to develop. So everywhere, for some time at least, we have to work in that particular area to understand what are those real gaps. Today I can tell you 10,000 problems, for which startups can give solutions in these 4 companies where I have had the experience. There is a lot. In fact, we have diagnosed and we have put them actually. So there is a great opportunity for every individual around and every organization around that. The skills also, there is a very limited number of people. Everybody is looking at how do I create a value, how do I make some money. Yes, we must make money. But end of the day, it has to be techno-economically viable solution. And for that, we have to be time tested. Okay, so certainly the skills that are required for the startups, you must get in and try to understand those things is one thing I am telling. And then finally, my advice to the teams here is this, the attitude with which we are going to work. At every level, hard work, commitment, is certainly very, very much required. And then I can tell you, this country has huge opportunities because we have the best of the talent, there is no doubt. We are also, I have also seen globally so many countries, more than 38 countries where, I had my operations and establishment. So I could see actually where are those opportunities, what sort of opportunities. Now, as a global village, when we look at the solutions that we can bring in around India, certainly they can be replicated in the rest of the world. People are looking forward to Indian brains. You all know that I need not talk much. So the point is, around environment, there is a huge opportunity. And here is one organization which is India's largest environmental organization, which created more than, 40,000 industries as their clients, and more than 5 lakh beds of hospitals every day they handle, more than 2 million tons of hazardous waste they handle. Every waste there is an opportunity for recycling, recovery, reusing. Every wastewater that comes out, there is an opportunity to treat and take it to next level. And every product that we are going to bring in is going to save lot of these wastages that are already happening in the system. So with these things, a great opportunity for everyone in this space, and this group and around me. Actually, now after my retirement from the business, actually, I have now started working with, as a mentor and also as an investor with various companies, and also I've taken a role to work for government of India as a member of parliament in policy making, so, and also law making. So very clearly I have some deliverables I kept, and this is what I have told when I went there with the Prime Minister. I told that I'm going to work in these three areas. Certainly, the industrial, environmental and waste management solutions, urban waste management and environmental solutions, environmental rules and regulations. So in fact, all of us, every stakeholder here around governance, we must know the rules, the best of the rules that we have to follow and what is happening around that. Again, if you go and see there, a huge opportunity, because the rules are not clearly adhered to at most of the places. So that itself brings in a great opportunity how to fix that. And also in line with the best of the European and US regulations, how the environmental rules of India have to further shape up. So in those areas also, every startup around ESG, I must tell you that should focus on understanding the rules and regulations, understanding the needs and what is the current situation, and around that how you can build your business. I think a huge opportunity. And I can tell you, we are here, in Hyderabad, just a few meters away from this building, a huge knowledge and expertise and experienced team. And I'm myself a civil and environmental engineer for 4 decades of experience. And we have seen, what India can provide sustainable solutions to the developing nations globally. So with that, actually, I want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity. I'm here to take any questions from any of you. And also, after this meeting, also available to spend time with you people. Thank you very much to ICR-T-Hub and all my friends here for giving me this opportunity to share a few of my thoughts. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
I request Manisha Sabu to please address the audience.
There are 6 million IT employees in India as of now. That is the growth we've achieved in last 30 to 40 years. And now, as per analyst, we will be adding 2 million in next 3 to 4 years. That is the growth that we are looking at. And the Hyderabad is here. I'm sure you want to get the lion's share of this 2 million in Hyderabad. That's what I thought. As soon as I heard that 2 million numbers, how many are we getting in Hyderabad? And what are we doing to get this 2 million here, and a majority of this 2 million in Hyderabad? As Hyderabad IT Industries Association, it's not just a wish, but it's a responsibility for us to make sure that we understand, analyze, and plan for it. So the first question, where is the growth going to happen? It is in GCC and startup area. 60 to 70% of the growth will be in GCC and startups. It is not in services industry. So it means that we need to change the way we have been working, the people that we have been talking to, this has to change. So coming to the startup part of it, what is it that HYCIA can do to get more, become kind of a magnet? Hyderabad should become magnet for startups. And what is HYCIA can do it? So when it comes to what we can do, the question that we should ask was that, what are my strengths? What is it that we can play on? What is it that we can bring to the table? So our strength is all the large organizations who are our members. What is it that the startups need? Startups need the large organization to mentor them, tell them what are the problem statements for which they can create solutions. Startup needs somebody to fund them. So the best way we can help startups to come to Hyderabad is by bringing corporates, VCs, and startups together. And with this thought and advice from the Bhishma Pitamaha of Hyderabad IT, I can safely say that about J.A. Chaudhary Garu, with his advice from people who are deeply ingrained in the startup system like Ramesh Loganathan, and of course MSR. We said, okay, let's all come together and see how can we create an ecosystem for startup, and that's where Catalyst was born. As you heard from Kishore as well as Shanti, this is the third Catalyst, and with what I see is that the venue size is increasing as we are adding the addition. So it means that it's becoming more popular, more meaningful, and more enriching experience for the participants. More and more people want to be part of this. This is something very important that we want to talk about. When I said that we want to build the ecosystem, we want mentors, we need people who will invest. We have done 2 catalysts, and you'll notice that this has started helping us. One outcome of this is Phoenix Group has come forward to mentor the startups from the ESG space. That's a very big thing, because you know that everybody in Hyderabad knows about Phoenix Group. They're big, they're very forward-looking. So I'm so glad to have Phoenix Group mentor our startups who are participating. So thank you everybody who has accepted to give their time here today.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
May I now request MSR to come and talk to us about the ESG plans. They have several cohorts running. Eager to hear to you.
It's an honor and privilege to be here at the third event of Catalyst. The first 2 events, the FinTech and the Life Sciences and Pharma event, went off really well. Most of our startups benefited hugely, right? And this whole, when you're building an entrepreneur ecosystem, essentially when you think about an entrepreneur ecosystem, you need startups, you need large companies who believe in paying it forward, which is what members of ICA are doing. You need funding institutions, which could be banks, which could be VCs. You need industry associations, of which ICA is a stellar example. And of course, you need media and you need government to come together, right? So I think we've been able to achieve that to a significant extent. So thank you for being here. I just thought, before we get into talking about what we are doing at T-Hub, I'm sure many of you would have read, this chap called Taleb. Yeah. So there is a quote from Taleb which I read a couple of days ago. So I thought I'll start with that. And the quote is, unlike his quotes which are usually very long, this one is a fairly simple one. He says, "Difficulty is what wakes up the genius." Okay. And I was trying to do some reading on, when did this term ESG come up, right? And actually, it's almost a 20-year-old term, right? There's some background. There's a gentleman called Kofi Annan, who was the UN Secretary General. So he called a meeting with, large companies, large financial institutions, and the International Financial Corporation commissioned a study in 2004. And then 2005, they came up with a report. Right? And I think the name of the report, I wrote it down here. The name of the report was Who Cares Wins. Okay. And when you think about it, it's very profound, right? Because I think we all have a responsibility to leave the planet in a better shape than when we came in, right? When you think about it. So this was the first time. So very quickly jumping on to what we are doing, and broadly the philosophy behind what we are doing at T-Hub from a ESG perspective is essentially, think about this. We all want to live on a planet where we can breathe air, fresh, clean air. We can eat healthy food. Okay, and we can live sustainably. Right, so very simple. So that's what we are trying to do. So today we have close to about 90 plus startups whom we are working with across different spectrum of the ESG part. So we have startups in clean energy and green energy and clean tech. We have startups in SDG mapping and reporting. We have startups in waste management, both solid and e-waste. We have startups in carbon footprint reduction and carbon credits. We have startups in water management, right? And some of them are there at the back. So I think this opportunity, to partner with HYSIA is something we value deeply. I think, Hyderabad, I think all of us do believe that Hyderabad can be the next startup capital of India. Startups, my last submission to all of you is ESG is important because we have to combine profit with purpose. Right? That's one of our goals at T-Hub, that everything we do must lead to a better and more sustainable planet. And this is something which we emphasize with all our startups, that we are not in the game for valuation, but we are in the game of building sustainable businesses which scale, which grow, which create jobs, and obviously enrich the ecosystem. So thank you again, the team at HYSIA, and thank you, sir, for being here today. You are a real inspiration for all of us, how you've been able to combine your role as a corporate leader and also build one of India's largest companies in the environment space. So thank you for being here, and look forward to hearing from you, sir, and also, of course, the panel discussions. And thank you for all the startups, and thank you for the team at T-Hub, which has done, the team at the back, you can all wave, for putting together, a really well-curated list of startups who are going to be part of the panel discussion. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
So this is going to be the starting of the panel discussion. I want to set a little bit of a background to this. To craft some meaningful conversations, we have conducted a survey, like Kishore had said. We have reached out to corporates, including reality developers, property management consultants, NGOs in the sustainability space, to understand what are their areas of priority. We were just not looking at putting together a panel discussion, but instead we wanted to have discussions that make sense to both the corporates and the startups. So the discussions now are going to be centered around the focus areas that we got as a feedback. Thank you. So these are going to be the spotlight areas that we will be having conversations on now. Now, there's a little bit that I want to tell about how this panel discussion is slightly different from the normal panel discussions that we have seen. When we reached out to the startups, the first question that the startups asked us is, do we have to pitch? So that's where we wanted to eliminate that pitch and the stress factor. So we said, no, this is not going to be a pitch, but you are going to be involved in a conversation with the corporates on stage. So this is going to be relaxed, stress-free environment. So that's the differentiating factor for the Catalyst panel discussion. So to make sure that we have the right conversations, we also did a little bit of homework in curating the startups that are going to be a part of the panel here. This doesn't mean, like Kishore said, that the others are not something that they should be here, but in a relative game, we felt we will be able to have a meaningful conversations with the startups that are going to be here now. So you can also see the kind of criteria that we have taken up while we curated. Now this, Bipin was very clear that we should inform this to the startups who have all applied, so that they understand, they also introspect to see, for future what they could do better. So on that note, I invite panel 1 to please come on stage. Prashant Nandela, President and COO First Source, Vice President Hysia, ESG Intervention Leader, and the moderator for panel 1. So we have 2 panel discussions actually. For ease of conversation and giving an opportunity for all these startups, we are doing 2 panels. Each panel will last for 45 minutes, where 20 minutes is exclusively catered for conversations. So the first panel, may I invite Dr. Prafulla Agarwal, Founder CEO, Tokera. Please. Indrajit Shah, India ESG Lead, CBRE. Shiva Tekumudi, Founder and CEO, Facilizens. Mahesh Siripurapu, Founder and Managing Director, Nida Green Energy. Anubhav Saxena, DGM, ESG and Sustainability, Decarbonization Data Analytics from Raheja Group. Abdul Karim, Operations Executive, Bio Reform. And Dr. Merle Fernandez is Director, LVPEI.
Thank you, Shanti. It's a great honor to be here. Thank you for all the participants in this room. Ram Reddy Garu for your presence here, MSR and the entire team, and all the team who's worked together tirelessly over the last 2 weeks to sort of curate this program, get this to where it is. I'm honored to be here to sort of spend some time. The way we'll go to do this is to sort of, I want to take a few minutes to bring in all of y'all to this conversation and spend a few minutes in this interesting topic in terms of what are we trying to do from either solid waste management, clean energy, net neutrality, carbon credits. How do you sort of work together to drive a sustainable environment for future? With that in mind, I wanted to take a minute to sort of, the guests are already invited and we know who are here, but I'll go round robin to sort of, get your insight into the conversation. Dr. Prafulla, you've been here from a startup ecosystem, and you sort of had a couple of use cases that you've been dealing with to convert brown energy to green energy and aspects around carbon trading and how you can get energy neutrality in the organization. So, while I go round robin, I wanted to get your sense in terms of this tech solution that you built through the blockchain, distributed ledger technology, and how you're using it to sort of drive this globally. It'll be nice to get a sense from you, your mission, your passion, and why this idea, and how do you feel that it's going to make a difference to our work environments?
Okay, good evening, everybody. I think on the first note I would like to start is thank you, Ram Reddy Garu. You've made a very nice statement that unless we don't have a business experience working as a corporate, as an employee, how do we make sure our startup really aligns to what we bring to the table? I'm a very standout product every time I walk into any startup ecosystems. They look at me, am I brought my daughter or my son? Because I don't look the 20-plus-year-old, lot of startup owners here. So thank you for recognizing my startup. And at 50, I'm as young as any new college graduate is. What I'm passionate about. Thank you. What I'm passionate about, and I think you can see Tokeri, and it's a green heart that's beating. That's what we want to communicate, because sustainability, environment is not only a corporation's responsibility. Every community, each one of us have to make a difference. That's what Propel does, and that's what propelled my startup to say, let's kind of create a grassroots level momentum to adopt clean energy. Now, how do we do that? And that's what we're solving using blockchain technology, where we're able to fractionalize renewable energy and various attributes that it has, like your energy credits, which individual households can adopt, which you can do it for your societies, for your offices, for your events, for your birthday parties, for your team events. Anywhere you can adopt it. There's a question that I always face is but the credit is an offset, so it doesn't sound too good. But let me just say this, we all live in cities like Hyderabad. I'm coming from Bangalore. We get drowned and marooned every year these days. And we do not think twice if that coracle which has come to take me to a safe place, is it made of the global standards of fiber and all that? Any coracle to get us out is welcome at that stage. Environmentally, that's where we are today. So what we are doing is working across the value chain of renewable energy. We are in discussions at the DISCOM levels to say what they procure as a renewable energy as mandatory obligations, start creating an identity for it so that that renewable energy can be still delivered in the hands of end users. So it can be at a cost, I'm not getting into the commercials there, but a blockchain allows that identity creation from generation to consumption. And that's going to revolutionize how each of us will consume renewable energy going forward. I'll end with a very small anecdote. When I was presenting this to the MSC forum in Uttar Pradesh, I had a small scale exporter from Moradabad who exports brass artifacts. He said, ma'am, if I do this, can my son write it in his personal statement as his environment contribution because he's applying for universities in the US? So that's the kind of adoption that we're seeing. And we're making it very, very simple, not only for adoption, even for your proof. And while we use blockchain, that's at the back end. Let's not complicate it for end users. You see a QR code there. I have a permission from that client right now. You can just scan on it. It'll give you the proof where this particular organization is consuming its renewable energy from. So I will end on that note. Our vision is very simple. We want every heart to beat green. It's each one's responsibility. Adopt renewable energy directly or indirectly, it doesn't matter, because just because we want to only set up power plants, we're consuming a lot of our land, and that's not sustainable either. So let's not be tilted too much on one side, but take a holistic view. And all the best to all of us, that we leave this place a better place. And in conclusion, somebody asked me, this is a 20-25-year journey. When Maggie came, none of us liked that flavors. But today it's become a meal. When Kellogg's came, they said, we're not for this generation. So Tokri is not being built for just this generation. We're talking Tokri for the next 20 years. And that's our vision. Thank you.
Awesome. Brilliant, Doctor. So I'm assuming we can, today sitting here, can get access to convert our brown power to green power by tokenized solution, right?
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Maybe we should do that, right, at the end of this workshop to show our commitment to green energy in terms of what we're doing from an organization standpoint. Brilliant. So just one thing teeing up from there before I go to the next panelist here is, this provides access globally. You're able to provide identity across global producers of green energy, or is it localized to India currently?
We're delivering that for global producers, distributors, and consumers. You could be anywhere in that cycle.
Awesome. That's good, right? So we don't need to use our land to produce. We can always consume from outside. Fantastic.
Absolutely not.
Fantastic. Thank you. Brilliant. Indrajit, over to you. You've been on this advisory space for a while, dabbling across a variety of things. So I wanted to get you in to get a sense on, as a consultant, talking to different stakeholders, working with a real estate company, talking to their clients, corporates, industries, policies. What's your sense on, the focus and the intent on carbon neutrality, carbon credits and net neutrality? Obviously, you have a larger perspective. And how does policy needs to change, sort of make sure that people are doing this, right? So when people talk to me, I said purpose is more important than anything. So obviously it all starts with us being very purposeful in terms of what we want to do and make sure that we're making this world a safer place to live in. Outside of that, there's a lot goes into, like Ram Reddy Garu said, in terms of policy, frameworks, awareness, willingness, access to sort of get this going. So what's your sense on how do we sort of step up from here and take a step change, what's an incremental change?
Thanks for that, Prashant. I'd just like to start off with a little bit of perspective about us as a country, right? We are already the most populous. And there was a report which said the real estate sector is going to overtake the agriculture sector in terms of being the largest employer in the country in the next few years. In India, we put out around 40 to 45 million square feet of real estate space every year. Now, what connects these different aspects is about magnitude. And this is what I would like to talk about, for the next couple of minutes, is when, all the startups out there, when you look at opportunity, okay, one thing to realize is if you are doing business in India, there is volume. So focus on understanding what are the gaps in this industry and how you can address those through technology, through human understanding, right? I'll give you some specific examples, right? Now, one of the things that, that I saw mentioned here, technologies around energy, water, and waste, right? One of the key challenges that we see in this industry is the fact that developers build, then they sell, right? And after they sell, the people who buy may not have the best understanding of how the building was built, how it is to be run, and how they need to repair it. So a huge opportunity is to look at the as-a-service model. Can you look at an opportunity where once the builders have built, there are models where they continue to share that information with the residents so that they can benefit from that understanding of the building. And in turn, the developers could actually look at IoT solutions, for example, to assess what is the level of wear and tear in the buildings and how they are to be maintained and charged for. Okay, I just wanted to give you this one example to show you that in one of the world's largest real estate markets, if you're able to bridge problems like this is what can really help us leapfrog into the future. In terms of what we are hearing from clients, right? All our clients want to be seen as industry leaders in the sustainability space, be it developers or be it occupiers. And the way to do that is to help them understand, because different clients will be on different parts of their sustainability journey in terms of maturity. So if you want to build solutions for either developers or occupiers in the real estate space, what you need to understand is where are they on their sustainability or ESG maturity journey? And then talk to these clients to understand what are their focus areas. That is where you'll realize that these are the gaps that you need to bridge. So start having these conversations on both sides of the table and try and assess where those gaps are. That's the message that I would like to leave you with, and start thinking upstream. A lot of the solutions that we see in energy, in water, in waste are downstream solutions. We have created systems, we have created problems, and then we are trying to mitigate those problems. Can you think upstream before those problems are created, when we are building the buildings, when we are thinking of occupying those buildings? Can we move those conversations upstream so that we don't make the mistakes in the first place? That's what I would like to leave this audience with. Over to you, Prashant.
Thank you. That's very insightful, as always. So what's your thought, right? And you obviously help advise organizations in taking spaces, leasing spaces, maintaining spaces, project management. How much of change management is still to be left to sort of make sure that people really believe in this and want to spend that extra buck at the beginning from a CapEx versus OpEx? Because if you fix it at a CapEx level, then you solve the variability at an OpEx level, right? People have to work through, and maybe there are ideas and thoughts there where we can find a differentiated commercial ecosystem that startups can work with to make that feasible. But what's your sense on that?
Well, to be very honest, we see a gamut of clients, and as I mentioned, on different parts of the journey. So you would have very mature clients who have done all the things that we talk about, in terms of doing low cost, no cost initiatives, doing CapEx based initiatives. If I take energy as an example, right, they would have done the baselining of the data. They would have identified what are the specific geographies that they want to look at. Within those geographies, what are the specific sites? In those sites, what are the specific initiatives? In those initiatives, energy, water, and waste, and then use that data to feed into where they want to be versus where they are and how much that is changing. So that's one end of the spectrum, right? On the other end of the spectrum, you've got companies who may have been in business, and there are variations of this, but just as a typical example, who may have been in business for a long time, but sustainability has not really been their focus for various reasons, right? Now, it's not to blame them, but it is to work with those companies then to help them understand how, while they are doing what they are doing, how can sustainability be incorporated into their business? And these are often conversations which take time, right? Because one of the key things that I've realized in my career, as a sustainability professional, is this needs to be driven top-down, especially in corporations. If you want business, if you want buy-in for ESG, you need to make sure that the top guy is on your side. And that's where a lot of our conversations start, and where we start with small examples, with easy wins, because a lot of people understand when you see a tangible outcome, right? So if you can show proof of concepts, around whatever business you are in, that is going to help the client understand in real terms, especially for clients who are early on in the maturity curve, what is in it for them from a business perspective and then from a social perspective. When I was doing my master's, one of my professors said something very, very interesting. He said, nobody buys a mobile phone because it's green. So please keep this in mind when you're designing your products and services. Yes, people want to be sustainable, but it needs to make sense from a commercial, technical perspective.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll move on to Seva now, the startup from the organization, from Facilience. So you just to this topic that, Indrajit and I were sparring a bit, you sort of build something in the downstream process to sort of look at how to optimize to data analytics and insight and technology. So give us your sense on what drove you to think about this idea, and how tech playing a role in sort of running the building operations in your construct. And what are some thoughts from your standpoint of what's getting you going in that space?
Thank you. And good evening to everybody. And then, thanks to HIC to having me over here. And my name is Shiva. I'm a founder and then a CEO of the company. So we are in the business of, automating commercial real estate space in terms of facilities management and then, energy and water and utility optimization. The decarbonization is kind of a natural extension to us. And if you really see that, the situation like, 40% of a commercial real estate space is responsible for 30% of the decarbonized, version. That's what, it is kind of, the more impact on the carbon, gases and all the things. With that, what happens is I just wanted to, show you that how we have transformed from the, automation to the decarbonization. What we have found is because we've been in the industry more than 5-6 years almost. Thanks to thanks to Ayodhya Ram Reddy Garu, the first pilot we have done on the, Ramki Cosmos, sir. I think thanks to you. And then we have done for a 3 months pilot on that. It's been almost, 3 years backstory and all the things. And we are in the, kind of, keeping the sensors and getting the, tons of data and processing it, and then we literally make how to automate the entire facilities management by removing the papers and keeping the data into the picture, which is a very challenging, because if you go down and sit with the basement of any huge 1 million square commercial real estate space, they have a day-to-day problems and they are least bothered about, sustainability. So you have a tough time to, push the sustainability story as a startup. And we need to literally sit with them and ask for what is their problems exactly. And their problems today is something like, how I can build the tenants. If I take a 1 million square feet having a 300 multiple office tenants, and then they have a day-to-day problem of raising an invoices, doing the bills and all the things. So we somehow gone there and then camped there, and then today we are managing more than 26 million square feet under our portfolio. That includes the major, portfolios like, Gaura Builders, and we have 2 big hospital portfolios like, Ankura, and then even all the things. So what I'm trying to say is like, it is not easy way to getting out there in Indian scenarios of a decarbonization unless until you solve the today's use case problem. So we out there. In fact, the CBRE is awarded as a cool, top 5, decarb company in the 3 years back. So I have a connection for almost. And Phoenix, Avan is the second pilot we have done, sir, in the Oracle building. And we are working with the Marvin facilities managers, which they are into the T-Hub. So we have seen almost 200 different portfolios of all companies that includes the schools, hospitals, malls, facility management teams, and all those things. We have more than 500 million data points out there into my system. So now the challenge is how I can really utilize those points and create something out of it. That's what the Indian data analytics comes with. Facilities is our brand name. What we call it is the facilities intelligence. So now what we are trying to do is, can I overlay the entire data to the BIM, that is the building information module, which predominantly they use it at a entry level of the buildings. I'm talking so much on the tech, maybe I'm trying to generalize it. Building information system is the one which normally every builder going to use it. It stops there at the end of that before handing over. So we put all the operational data over there and then extend the life for the next 30 years. So overall, what we are trying to do is how we can measure and calculate a carbon emission per square feet with my data and give back to the builder, hey, can you reduce your, the sizability of your chiller, which is oversized today. That way we can help the builders. So we can say that facilities management, saying like it doesn't require to go and, do 5 things a day. You can do 3 times so that you can improve the productivity. So what happens is we are trying to connect multiple use cases of managing a large commercial buildings using a facility management software, but slowly getting there into the decarbonization. That's what we are trying to do there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wish you all the best. It's a very noble cause. I think I saw somewhere in the presentation that you're going to take, while you do all of this from a sustainability objective, you're also going to take 20% cost out to managing facilities, right? It's a win-win. Commercially, it works for everybody. So good luck for your venture. So just shifting tracks to somebody who's sort of helping saving lives, creating a better life to individuals, working in LVPI, Dr. Mal. Obviously this is a vast institution which manages, I don't know how many thousands and lakhs of people on a daily basis. It's an institution in itself for good purpose, good cause. I know how they structure to sort of help provide free services to people who can't afford and all of that stuff. So clearly with this purpose that you have with research embedded, with services embedded, I wanted to get a sense on your sustainability objectives and how you think about sustainability and how you're implementing that in your space across all the facilities that you manage today.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to be here. So LV Prasad Institute, as a lot of you may know, is a not-for-profit organization, and we are currently located in 284 centers across the 3 states of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Orissa, as well as a small representation in Karnataka. So our start of trying to achieve sustainability was some years ago when we started with solar energy. And we started off in a small way. We are a not-for-profit organization, as I mentioned. And so everything that we do, even whatever investments that we make, we have to, at the end of the day, look at how are we going to provide service to somebody who cannot afford it. And it was with a very conscious mind that we decided to take this forward. The effort actually took off. I currently lead the Green LVPI initiative in LVP, and that was about 2 years ago that we decided to go all out with a multi-pronged approach. So some of the things that we've started is investing in solar energy. To date, we've invested in about 1.5 megawatts of solar energy across our centers. I'll talk about the things that we've done and the challenges that we face. So when you look at solar energy, you realize that the amount of space that you have sometimes is a constraint. The government has got certain restrictions on the amount of energy that it actually provides, that you can actually use for solar. So we can actually use only about 80%. And in certain areas which are huge energy guzzlers, like for example in our tertiary centers located in the metros, the amount of space that we have and the amount of investment that we have to make for solar to provide that much amount of coverage is challenging. The other things that we've done, we've looked at rainwater harvesting, we've looked at trying to utilize more efficient sources of air conditioning. We use STPs and treat the water wherever we can, though we would like better solutions for that. But some of the innovative things that we've done are in developing an indigenous electronic medical record, which has done away with paper records, that was developed in-house and is used across all our centers. So even in a small vision center, we have an electronic form of documentation, which also helps us in our research. And we are continuing to innovate in this area. During the pandemic, because of the fact that our patients couldn't reach us, nor could we reach out to them, we developed an indigenous teleophthalmology software, which enabled us to connect with our patients who could not reach us. And that is something that we have been using. So that helps indirectly by reducing the carbon footprint in the sense that the patient does not have to come to see us. Though obviously if you have an eye ailment, you can't actually get treated over a computer screen or a mobile phone. But then that's another aspect. So we've tried to reduce some of the, the visits that a patient has to make with the teleophthalmology that we've set up. And we're looking at, other ways where we can try and utilize solid waste. So we have biomedical waste segregation that it's mandatory in all hospitals. But then for the organic waste that's being generated, so there are systems that are available. I'm sure I'll meet a lot of people out here who will help us with the organic waste. But to make it very simple, whatever gardens we have, all the dry leaf that we collect from there is put in a pit. This is going to sound very crude. Put in a pit layered with soil, and after a couple of weeks, we have our own manure. So we generate 2,000 tons of manure for our gardens every quarter, and that's used across the centers. So these are just some of the initiatives. There are other things that we do as well, but I'll spare you that.
Brilliant. Are there any ideas in your mind that you're still pursuing going forward? And any suggestions to the startup ecosystem here, what they should start looking at?
So I wish that the cost of solar per kilowatt was cheaper. I don't know how we can bring that down. It would be really fantastic if we could get it. Within the state itself, if you have land and you can generate solar on that space, the government doesn't actually allow you to, use it somewhere else. So, then there are batteries which are very expensive. So if the cost of those batteries could come down, that would help us a great deal. But those are just some of the things.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Going back to our next startup, wanted to get a perspective from Mahesh. Mahesh, we've been talking in Dijit a little bit, and he said, we have to go more upstream than downstream. So clearly we know that tons of plastics is generated every day, every year. A lot of it never gets collected. It goes and pollutes our environment and nature, and you sort of looking at creating alternate sources of packaging that people can use to sort of drive things. So I wanted to bring you in to get your perspective of what's the mission of what you're trying to do, and how do you see you playing into creating a better sustainable future for us going forward?
Sure. Thanks, Prashant, and good evening, everybody. And thank you, Haisya, for inviting us here and making green energy and waste management a prime focus. So we are NIDA Green Energy, started in 2016, and our team of technocrats, and our first product was oxyhydrogen gas generator. And we wanted to generate oxyhydrogen and use that as supplementary fuel in internal combustion and external combustion machines. We succeeded to some extent, and because of capital intensiveness, we shifted our focus onto converting plastic waste into fuel. So one of the reasons being, when we approached an industry or looked into the waste that industry is generating, mainly the chair manufacturing industry, right? The waste that is produced was almost equivalent to talcum powder, the granularity of the particles. So those guys did not have a solution, and they were just throwing that in water bodies or landfills, which cannot be separated at all. So, and we wanted to bring a solution mainly for industrial plastic waste to convert it to something reusable. And we are not good advocates of traditional pyrolysis systems for some reason, because they generate a lot of flue gases and heat into the environment. So we came up with a zero discharge closed loop batch process system in 2016 and started converting industrial plastic waste into reusable fuels like synthetic diesel, synthetic petrol, and synthetic kerosene. And we worked with few corporates to set up captive plants for them. And 2021, we shifted our focus onto continuous process system because we always wanted to come out of batch process systems. Time in developing our own design, in building a continuous process, loop back means we generate our own fuel, which is consumed in the technology. So the production cost currently to produce 1 liter industrial oil from plastic waste is very, very less, almost 50% of what we get in the market. So we succeeded doing that, and the main product currently is industrial oil that we are generating from both plastics from municipal solid waste and also industrial waste. And based on the applications, we also can use distillation techniques to convert industrial oil to high value products like transport grade fuels, N-octane, N-hexane, etc. So that is what we are doing. We have been vetted by many corporates like mainly cement industries, Birla, Dalmia, and many country executives and political authorities from different countries. We started our plants, and then we could successfully present the technology and acquire some letter of intents. So that is what we are doing currently. And to answer to Prashant's question, what is the vision, right? We see somewhere being a big contributor to sustainability goals of India 2030 in reducing the carbon footprint. So that is the goal that we are working towards.
Brilliant. Thank you. Wish you all the best for your lecture.
Thank you, Prashant.
So now, bringing up Abhinav, you've been with Raheja. It's a large developer across multiple cities, and you run the sustainability and decarbonization program. Talk a little bit about how you're thinking about this, and how can the real estate space sort of be the lead anchor to sort of show the path that we really care about our environment and building something which is helping us for the future. Give some thoughts on that before I switch on to our next colleague.
Yeah. So we started the sustainability journey way back in 2008, in which we considered our first green certified building in. Currently also we are having very aggressive ESG targets like scope 1, scope 2 need to be reduced by 42%. We are also under the process of disclosing the target for the net zero. Approximately by 2043 we are aiming to be a net zero. But in order to go for net zero, one has to take care of all the 3 emissions, scope 1, scope 2 and scope 3. We are currently doing fine in terms of scope 1 and scope 2, and approximately currently 16% of our energy is coming from the green sources, green power. But when we go further, that we want to become exceed more than 30-35%, we need to look on the scope 3 emissions. Scope 3 emissions currently as a real estate developer is the one of the biggest challenge, I would say. First important challenge is supply chain. A very complicated supply chain, you must be knowing that the real estate companies are having. How to educate the entire supply chain in terms of ESG. That's another challenge. Then the next is waste. Waste is also one of the major challenges that we are facing right now. Good thing is that we have already banned the single use of plastic. We are, on some of the campuses are having bottling plants in which we are replacing the entire use of the plastic bottle with our own glass bottles. Then we are exploring further methods, how can we optimize and reduce the waste. Then another major issue related to scope 3 is the tenant energy consumption. That it will look like that why developers are not making green spaces and all those things. We are making like green spaces since last 15 years, but another important aspect we want to understand is the end client who is going to occupy that space, whether they are ready for the new technologies, whether they are accepting the green solutions. Sometimes, just like for the green power, if we want to reduce our scope 3 emission, we also need to depend upon the green power. So tenants also need to go on the green power. Currently, you must be knowing that green power tariff is one of the easy way in which the tenants also need to agree to pay additional money on the green tariff. But the fact is that hardly 10% of our tenants are getting ready for the green power tariff. So that is why we are encouraging the tenants to go into the green lease, in which we can clear all those things from the day one. So cultural behavior, cultural change is also important. Like sometimes the tenants are demanding platinum and very energy efficient solution, but they want to keep their AC temperature as 21 or 22 degrees centigrade. That can't be possible. So one way we are demanding green and simple solutions, they are not getting agreed to. They are just by their sales agreement or sales team document sheet. They have to do this demand. In one way, you are demanding everything green, but other day you are demanding also the demand load in such high value. So developer is the which you are demanding, which you are going to build. So we also want to make further energy efficient offices, energy efficient solutions. So what we are trying to do right now, we are trying to develop a small experience centers or the small setups at every campus level in which we can explore the innovative products. Otherwise, our tenants will not go directly to the innovative products or solution. So they will first like to experience those products. So that is why we are now in the process of creating such experience centers in which we can showcase these products will work in the large scale development. Then we are going further ahead for the implementing of those strategies.
Brilliant. Creating experience centers, awareness, so people can actually live by what they want to achieve is very important. Thank you for your thoughts. So while I go to my next panel, if there are any questions, please plug on to Radhika. She's going to capture that and probably bring it on board just to save some time, because we have another panel right after this. Yeah, thank you. So, going, it was very informative, right? So now to another solid waste management idea that's come out, right? Abdul Karim and his young entrepreneurs who doing something really fantastic in this space. So talk a little bit about how you're thinking about your journey. I know you're trying to do something really cool in this space, but what's your business plan like, and how do you think you're going to make a difference? What help do you need to sort of get there? Right? Give us a little bit of sense of your journey so far, your obstacles, how you sort of navigated them, what help can the industry at large and corporation at large and policy at large can help you to be successful.
Thank you, Prashant, for that. Firstly, it was really inspiring to hear from Rami Reddy sir today. His words were really inspiring for us as a startup. And I'm really proud to be here and with the panel here talking with everyone, being the youngest to be a part here. Certainly when we started our journey, it was with the vision of the Prime Minister. We heard him keeping the agenda for India, for making India plastic free for the year 2025. And that's where our team thought about how we as an individual, how we as a citizen of this country come forward and take this mission forward. That's the idea, and it's been 1.5 years, touching 2 years soon now. We started Bioreform. It's a manufacturing company. We manufacture bags which are made of corn, which were directly the alternative towards the plastic that we see around. So far, we can proudly say that we have replaced 50 lakh plus plastic bags with our greenie bags. We produce more than 1 lakh greenie bags each day, and have climbed significantly into the B2B market, whether it was the small district of Andhra Pradesh till the most famous cafe of Hyderabad, or whether it was G Polarity, one of the oldest players in the market, to Country Chicken, who've started very early. So we've met a lot of people who were having the same vision of taking sustainability forward. While in addressing people, we heard from people telling that sustainability is not just it's not just an option what we see today, but it's more likely being a necessity of the that comes in forward. Being student entrepreneurs, we had a lot of challenges coming forward, whether it was addressing the market, whether it was dealing with how the client would look it forward for. But eventually things ended up being on the route wherein we had the vision clear about making India plastic free. And ever since when we turned back behind, that day when the inauguration happened, and then being here, it surprises me as a person itself that we've made it happen so far. But there was one quote that hit my mind. that was there. And you never realize the worth of water until the well starts drying. We also, never get to understand truly just how sustainability is important for us until, we get the most exposure about how the dark nets that could eventually come up with. Noticing about corporates, one thing we saw is how the changes have started to come. We see that the companies have started adapting, sustainable products when it comes to their companies. We've seen wood or bamboo being utilized, as cutleries have been seen around. But we see there's this slow drop of, plastics being utilized, the conventional plastic, right? We found out in our survey, what we made, that even a small company of, let's say, 50 size employee generate as much as 3,000 bags each month. And when you would want to take it forward and look for the bigger corporates, could reach up to 1.5 million bags each month. And that's certainly an alarm and a point that let us realize as a players that the market is big. The vision is even bigger than that, right? People greater than products, greater than price is something that drives us truly. And taking the mission, not just with India, not just the consumer market in India, but taking it forward to the globe, because we definitely would want to curate this example from made in India, but for the globe, is what the Prime Minister said. And truly to remark that point, we are looking forward for the most influential collaboration with people, because the experience that you get with everyone here is something that truly not just defines what we want to do in life, what we want to do for India, more importantly, but how we could maybe create the best solution that is originating from India. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's very inspiring, and good luck for your venture of being a global player. Obviously, not just helping solve India's problem, but creating employment for tons of people. I appreciate that. So before, it was a good conversation, got in different perspectives. I had a few questions come up from the audience, so I thought I'll take the liberty to sort of talk to a few. One question is sort of about, are there any real estate developers in India who are interested to have upstream conversations to tackle the ESG performance initiatives, right, rather than working downstream? So maybe some thoughts, Indrajit, from you or Abhinav?
Let me be very honest. Upstream conversations are not easy, right? Because we as a society, and I dare say as a globe, we are used to doing things a certain way, and then when we find problems, finding solutions for that. What do you we are now discussing about upstream is about changing mindsets. And I'll take a cue from what Anubhav said earlier, is people want everything at the cost of nothing. And that's a difficult conversation. So what you need to do is try and understand what the pain point is and what the customer is willing to pay for it. Okay. Now that's not a straight answer to your question, but possibly the only way you'll find out is by talking to clients. We are finding clients of late developers who are willing to have some of these conversations. So, if that's some solace, then yes, there are opportunities that are opening up, but you'll only find out the level of interest when you start speaking to these clients.
Just want to add, this good thing is that the government is taking good initiatives. That you all must be knowing that all the listed companies, top 1,000 listed companies, has to disclose now BRSR report, Business Responsibility Sustainability. In one of that, now the next year it going to be BRSR core. Under that, they have put they are putting more focus towards on the supply chain. So due to which the developer like us started now more interaction with our supply chain supply vendors and doing the regular exercise with our suppliers. We have made one supplier code of conduct, and like us, all the other leading developer who are into these top 50 or top 250 companies or top 1,000 companies, they are trying to educate the supply chain. So right now it's a good time because recently this change has been started. Now from next onwards, by default, all the top 10,000 companies have to go with via the BRSR route, in which they have to start talking to this supply chain. So this is a very correct time in which if you want to enter into the business, because right now we are regularly discussing with the key suppliers, critical suppliers. The problem with developers like us, how to categorize these vendors, how to categorize these suppliers. So we started first categorizing them in terms of tier 1 suppliers, tier 2 suppliers, tier 3 suppliers, critical suppliers. Then we try to bring these critical suppliers into a single room and educate them in terms of ESG. How can they, so we are giving them, like the government is giving us the target for the scope 3 emission, we also giving them the target to reduce their emissions reduction. So it's just like just a balancing our target to them.
Just adding to what Anubhav said, when you talk about scope 3, right? Scope 3 has 15 categories, right? 7 upstream and 8 downstream. So what you should be looking at is within scope 3, what are the specific categories that you want to look at? Now typically supply chain would be looking at scope 3.1, which is, procured goods and services. Okay, so maybe you would want to look at that and see how you can find out solutions, technological solutions based on data to, identify these different kinds of suppliers. Now that could be a potential opportunity for you. You could also be looking at commute, both employee commute and business commute, which is again within scope 3. So there could be opportunities for you to look at and see how you can upstream the solution and therefore the problem addressing, right? So when companies are deciding on employee commute options, okay, yes, you want EV, but are there more efficient ways to address it at a design stage where the office is located? What kind of people you're hiring and where do they stay? Okay, all of this, the basis of this is data. So think about these aspects and see how you can address some of these challenges, and then start talking to real companies to understand their level of willingness to share the data with you. Now, yes, data is important, but are companies willing to share? Are there other ways to get the data? Are there public data sets that you could use? So these are some of the areas that you need to be thinking about to understand how you can design solutions which are fit for purpose for the clients that you're looking at.
Thank you. That was, there's another question, but we'll take it up after the second panel. But thank you all. It's very informative, very useful for me, opened up my eyes to new things. Hopefully it was useful for everybody. So I think I have some ideas to take back and see how we can internalize some of these findings. Thank you all.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
The next panel is again going to be addressing the same focus areas. And this panel we have Bipin Pendiala, Senior Director and General Manager, India App, moderate the session. Hitesh Hiran, co-founder and Director, Greenifit. Arun Murugesh, Vice President, Sales and Marketing, Sahas Zero Waste. And Chandrasekhar, Founder, Director, Jivol Biofuels. Rohit, Founder and CEO, Zodia. Vivek Verma, Strategic Advisor and Venture Partner, Silver Needle Ventures. Ganges Reddy, MD and CEO, Blue Drop and VRAW. Shrikant Badiga, Group Director, Phoenix Group.
So we again have a set of accomplished corporate leaders and accomplished startup entrepreneurs as well. One interesting thing that we've seen when we're doing this event planning is and curating is that we do actually have, while we're calling them as startups, the reality is that each one of them have actually established themselves in a reasonable decent fashion and in a sweet spot. So what I'd like to do is that the data that they presented to us for the curation process and the areas that they're operating in. I would like to bring out some of the essence more through a dialogue, right? So let me start with Hiten, right? Hiten's company is actually in a very interesting space where I felt Hiten. Not only are they looking at carbon credits, right? Which is, in some sense, carbon credits is nice because I can show my balance sheet to the corporate saying that I'm net zero, carbon neutral. But the reality is that I'm actually not carbon neutral, I'm actually buying. I'm paying for it, right? So Hiten's company actually has gone the next step, which is where they're able to create a framework where the corporates can constantly review, assess, understand what their carbon footprint is. Not only buying carbon credits, but actually kind of constantly monitor, track, and reduce. So Hiten, I'd like to understand when you do talk to corporates, right? There is probably higher tendency for people to just buy the credits. It looks nice on the
balance sheet, but how much is the traction you're getting when people are serious about actually reducing the carbon footprint? What has been your take so far in terms of your conversations with various customers, and how much of a mind shift change are you seeing?
Thank you. So I would just like to touch the topic differently. So carbon credits comes at the last, because now it is a voluntary market and it is not enforceable that you should buy the carbon credits. And value is not that much. Okay. The point is that we all are concerned about saving the environment. We all wish to contribute to environment and reduce the carbon emissions that we have. However, what my journey in the 10 years plus in this industry that we have seen, exactly what you pointed out, how much serious the companies are. If we see around, we all know, we talk about climate change, etc., but the real adoption level is very low. And one of the major reasons is what I believe, and from my experience working in industry, is that as a human tendency, if there is something which has no monetary or strategic incentives aligned with whatever the actions that we take, then anything we tend not to be serious about to pursue it or commit to it, this besides just a vocal support. And this is exactly where, if we make a change, and what we try to explain to the companies is that climate solution can be a investable. Cite example of one of my assignment as a P. I had the opportunity to meet many industries in the Rajasthan. 70 plus association and industries, I had interviewed them. And I've seen many companies getting closed down because of NGT ruling of effluent treatment plant not being given to that. Balotra 800 plus industries to close down. I had opportunity to see groups, one of the initiatives for one association where it was working fantastically well. In Udaipur region. And that is in 2015 I was talking about. But if you see the cost of getting the business closed down, many business losing, okay. That is a cost. So now if you see that the climate solution is seen to be from the decarbonization organization as an investable market, then adoption becomes very easy. So this is where Granifit has to help people society organizations to take on the Embark journey of decarbonization in a profitable manner. And in a responsible manner. And this is what our journey, we did the pilot, and now we are getting a good traction. We are currently managing a distributed, Granifit is a distributed climate solution platform. Currently we are managing a distributed climate asset under management of 11 crore and above, and generating revenue worth 3 crore last year. So this testamount to that, okay, there is a people are becoming aware about it. And it is not only the companies, because if you see the companies like to allocate the resources very carefully, but financial, because the major problem with the climate solution is the capital intensive nature. So one of the model that Ramki Group